Man, where's the bongos?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, September 1st, 2016. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 856.
This is No Agenda.
Paying higher taxes than Apple and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in Austin, Tejas, FEMA Region 6. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, you funny guy, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Funny guy?
You funny guy.
I funny guy. Yes.
You are. Yeah. That was a good line. That's the best line I've heard from you probably for a month or two.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, then I shall get right into my package. Why don't we do that instead of Trump?
Okay, go.
This Apple thing in Europe. You know, I decided to look into it because I was always interested in Nelly Smith-Cruz when she was the anti-competition commissioner.
Yeah, you've always had a crush on her.
I've met her several times.
Okay.
And back in the day, yeah, she has kind of that little crooked...
Is she involved in this deal?
No, she's out. No, she doesn't do that anymore. This is the woman from Denmark, Verstager. But I always was interested in what she was doing, and it's a very, very, really a very powerful position. One of the most powerful in the entire thing.
Yeah.
So I have 3 quick clips, and then there's some interesting things we need to discuss about this, because this goes, the Apple part is really a distraction. That's really completely unimportant, except for, tech horny shows. Really not that important.
Is that what they sound like now?
There's a whole podcast network where people just go. There you go. Okay. So here is Margrethe Verstager from Denmark. And this is her interview with the BBC explaining briefly what this is about.
What we are questioning is the way that the Irish tax rulings have worked. And what we see is that the tax rulings has allowed the huge majority of the profits to be attributed in a head office that only exists on paper. No employees, no physical premises, no real activities, and due to Irish tax legislation until 2013, also no tax, and therefore very, very little taxes have been paid.
The Irish government, I think, has said it will appeal against this because you're targeting it retroactively, looking back into the books in a way that you shouldn't.
Well, what we are doing is that we are asking unpaid taxes to be paid. Not a single rule have been changed, so there's no retroactivity in that respect. I think it's a feature in most taxation systems that if the taxator puts his eyes on you and he finds something not appropriate in the past, he will ask you to pay the unpaid taxes. So no novelties there.
Okay. So the way this is, I think, being played in general in the media is the EU fined Apple 17 billion euros. That is not true.
I don't believe that's the way it's being played.
Oh, that's the way I'm here seeing it everywhere. Okay, well,
here's what I'm going to give you.
Give me
what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Apple did a deal with Ireland. And it was a deal that I guess was not approved by the EU, who is really the final arbiter. And they owe a bunch of taxes, and they want Ireland to collect it.
Yeah, I think you have it partially right. The things that are incorrect is that there is so far no evidence that there was any sweetheart deal. This was a deal that was put in place when Apple moved their corporate stuff over to Ireland. 20 years ago or something, or maybe even longer than that. And so this has been in place for a while. Actually, here's Tim Cook responding he did a very long interview, like a 25-minute interview on Radio Ireland, whatever it is, kind of like
Ireland.
The BBC of Ireland. Here's a couple things what he had to say about it.
Can I ask you some direct questions? Were you given deals that were only available to Apple and weren't available to any other companies?
No, not a single time.
Were you treated differently to everyone else? Were you given special treatment or sweetheart deals?
No, never.
And the European Commission yesterday said, Commissioner Vestager, said that in 2014, Apple paid an effective corporate tax rate of just 0.005%. That's €50 out of every €1 million profit you made at one of your subsidiaries, Apple Sales International, which is based here in Cork. Do you accept this?
No, it's a false number. I have no idea where the number came from. It is not true. Here is the truth. In that year...
I like saying that, by the way. You know, you can say what is also true or just say, here's the truth. Oops, sorry. Let me back up. Here it comes.
Truth. In that year, we paid $400 million to Ireland. And that amount of money was based on the statutory Irish income tax rate of 12.5%. In addition to that, because our folks there, our 6,000 employees, do various functions for all of Europe, if we sold a product in another country, there was also, in addition to that 400, income tax paid in that specific country, you know, depending upon what rate they charge. And what's even larger in terms of the actual dollar value is, as you probably know, our worldwide profits are subject to additional U.S. income taxes. And the current U.S. federal rate, which your viewers may be interested in, is 35%. And we provisioned several $1 billion for U.S.
All right, now so that is his explanation of how they do pay taxes. Any comments on that before I move on?
No, but as I do, a couple of things I just want to throw in there. The Jake Tapper, or one of the, or the other guy, actually, not Jake Tapper doesn't even work there anymore.
Chet?
No, not Chet. They're our normal spokesperson for the White House. So.
Jake, yes.
Josh.
Josh Earnest, thank you.
He came out and he was bitching and moaning about this, and then somebody analyzed it, saying if they're dinged this $14 billion, if they're dinged it, then they can take that off the American income tax. So we get less money.
Well, yeah,
so we're
interesting.
We're on their side.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Because Jack Lew, who is our Secretary of the Treasury, is outraged. He's really pissed off about this, and I understand. And there's a lot of forces at work here. Jack Lew's going, hey, hold on a second. That's our money, you see. Yes. That's American taxpayer money. You can't take that. And do you know who Jack Lew is, actually, where he comes from?
I think we talked about him before.
I looked him up because I was like, oh, let me take a look at this mofo. Why is he so pissed off? So he's a lifetime. He's a lawyer, and he worked for Tip O'Neill, and then he was special assistant to President Clinton. But then in 2006, he became the chief operating officer at Citigroup. And guess when his tenure ended at Citigroup?
When?
2008. Oh. Because what happened in 2008?
Yeah, we had a collapse.
We had a meltdown. And then he went to the Treasury.
Sure.
How about that revolving door, huh? I love that guy. Very smart. So he's rightfully...
Things are bad, go work for the government.
Yeah, he's rightfully saying, hey, man, this is no good. This is our money. You can't take that. So there's a little tension there. The responsibilities of the European Commissioner for Competition is commercial competition, company mergers, cartels, state aid, and antitrust law. They have nothing to do with taxation, but state aid is very clearly spelled out in, let's see, although you have to look for it. This was part of the Lisbon Treaty that was signed and ratified, I would say, in 2008. After the Irish, no coincidence there, said, no, we're a do-over. And then, of course, they were convinced to shut up and play along with the program. So they have all these different little side letters and side deals. I read the whole thing, all of this stupid Lisbon Treaty. So now you have to go to the, what is this called? The consolidated version of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. So these are the treaties, the extra docs and the protocols. And it indeed says, when it comes to state aid, there's a specific Article 87, TEC, regarding taxation and approximation of laws. And there are a couple of things that you are allowed to do as state aid, and a few things you aren't. And I thought it might be interesting to just go through these 6 points here. State aid to a company is okay if it has a social character, granted to individual consumers, provided that such aid is granted without discrimination. If it's aid to make good the damage caused by natural disasters or exceptional occurrences, aid granted to the economy of certain areas of the Federal Republic of Germany. You notice Germany is the only one who has a little extra clause in there. So insofar as aid is required to compensate for the economic disadvantages caused by the division between East and West Germany. And apparently, it says here, 5 years after the entry into force of the Treaty of Lisbon, the Council, acting on a proposal from the Commission, may adopt a decision repealing this special aid to Germany. I don't recall, I looked around, I don't recall any vote, but it should have been had by now.
Yeah, it was overlooked.
Yeah. The following may be considered compatible. Aid to promote the economic development of areas where the standard of living is abnormally low, okay, with underemployment. Aid to promote the execution of an important project of common European interest, of course. Aid to facilitate the development of certain economic activities of certain economic areas. Aid to promote culture and heritage conservation. And obviously taxation breaks is not a part of that. She has incredible power to do what she's doing, because she is not levying a fine. She is actually asking something that is frightening many countries. I would say the Netherlands is right up there at the top, saying, hold on a second, how can the EU determine what our tax policies are and what we have to tax or what we have to levy in taxation? This is going to be if you will, a constitutional issue. And if they're taking away so-called sweetheart deals, if the double Dutch and the reach around the Irish thing, the Dutch are going, their economy is based on this. That's all they have really left over is accountancies, consultants, companies that, like Panama. It's a total tax haven, mainly for Russian companies. Which we'll get to in a moment. Here is Versteiger responding to Tom Collins.
See so many companies who pay their taxes, who contribute to the societies that they're part of, where they use the roads, the infrastructure, hire skilled employees educated in the national educational systems. They pay their taxes, and they, of course, should expect any other company to do the same. And that would allow us to have a level playing field, and that, in my opinion, is only fair.
Is there a risk that this could damage inward investment, that companies could be deterred from setting up companies in the EU? I mean, Apple has said it will have a profound and harmful effect on investment and job creation in Europe.
Well, that, of course, depends on the reason why you set up operations. Europe is a wonderful place to do business. The single market has a potential of more than 500 million customers. Very good infrastructure, very strong, very high quality of research and development.
Well, that may be the case, but the US Treasury has said the Commission's actions could threaten to undermine foreign investment and the business climate in Europe.
But you should invest for substantial reasons. You should invest because that you want to do business, not because that you want to avoid taxes.
So there's a lot of agendas at play here, particularly when you note that there were two other companies that were being, and there's a lot actually. I went back and looked at a speech from Versteiger from 2015. No clips to pull from it. But she's going out. Well, of course, they went after Starbucks. That's in the Netherlands. That's where they started. That's being fought out right now. But they also have an issue with Gazprom. And you're now going to see people getting a little upset because Gazprom, who admitted that they overcharged European customers for gas, agreed to pay initially. They said, okay, well, we'll work on this. It was maybe a 10% of their net or something. Well, anyway, they get away with paying €7 billion fine for actually breaking laws, not taxation tricks, but for ripping people off. and they get a sweetheart deal. Just give us $7 billion and fine, it's okay, go away. So we're seeing these divisions now, and I think that Europe is hedging their bets on the next president or whatever they may see coming. But I think this is hostile.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that at all, because I think since we started watching years ago when you had your buddy there in the Dutch woman.
Mainly
butt slamming Microsoft and some of these other companies with huge fines for just minor infractions. And it always, and I've said this since the beginning, I'm very consistent about this. I've said this is just gouging the American companies to get money out of them because they're dominant companies, many of them. I mean, Apple's a good example of a company that just dominates in its arena.
And it also says a lot about what the other countries in the EU can expect to come down the pipeline. When it comes to, although the Netherlands, why? Maybe this isn't as a side note. How come the whole country, the whole economy hasn't been wiped out because of the sweetheart deals they make for? I mean, also in the Netherlands, well known, it's one of the few countries in the world. There's no taxation on creative royalties. Zero. So who has big offices, like huge, beautiful buildings on the Keizersgracht Canal? The Rolling Stones, U2, I mean, all these guys, they got everything there because there's no taxation on that. And that will, I think, have to end unless, because they're doing so much business for the Russians, and apparently the Russians are getting kind of an easy deal on this, maybe it won't happen.
Well, that's what we don't know. I also think if you're going to go into kind of looking at this at different dimensions, is it possible that, because all these countries are starving to death and they're trying to, getting a bunch of, tens of billions of dollars just flat out easy just by making them write a check is great.
Yeah.
But but the thing that kind of the kicker in this is that the money has to go to Ireland. Now, is it possible that there was a sweet deal done in the background with the Irish saying, we've done this great deal, some of these deals, but we're going broke here doing this. Is there any way you can can
you help us out and get us a little dough?
Can you
here?
help them out by finding them and getting us the money? Because we'd actually like to get that money. And meanwhile, no, we had nothing to do with it. We're gonna appeal this. We're gonna protest this.
Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Not bad.
Who benefits?
Yeah, but not the EU. That's for sure.
No, Ireland benefits. So I suspect that they may be behind this.
I like that. So,
double dealing.
Tim Cook, I'm sorry, man, but my hands are tied.
We're going to protest this.
Yeah, we're going to protest it for a short time.
Yeah, he may be getting screwed by the Irish in this.
And of course, all of this is great preamble for the iPhone 7. Obviously, doesn't matter what they're saying, as long as they're talking about you. Then it's a good preamble.
Well,
good preamble.
As if they need it.
But
what does the Tech Corny Press sound like again? That's right. That's exactly what they sound like.
Yeah. Wait, it's like Apple comic book. Yeah, there we go. That's the Tech Press. That's Tech Podcast in America, baby. They're everywhere, really. Yeah. Okay. Just had to get that off my chest because I think I'm keeping my eye on it. I'm calling it my beat now. The Euroland anti-competition gouging. Euroland gouging. Let me change that in the show notes. Euroland gouging. Very nice.
Need more gouging.
Perfect.
Well, there was a lot of action this week.
I agree.
My favorite, of course, is the Never Say Never. Wiener.
Yeah. This was fantastic. What you got?
And I have to say something. I was thinking about this, and there's a lot of, we imply that Aberdeen is
No, I'm not going to imply. I'm going to say that
she's a lesbian and he's a beard or maybe she's bisexual.
Well, hold on. Let's back it up for 1 second. Our original analysis, and I interviewed Anthony Weiner for CNN a long time ago. And I think I've told the story. Maybe I should just bring it back up quickly. He was councilman in Brooklyn, and CNN had this brilliant idea. Oh, let's get a young guy from MTV and the young politician. Yeah, it would be cool. Have a young and young thing.
young guy.
Young. So I go to Brooklyn and do this. It is a typical CNN production. And Weiner is
low budget.
low budget, but they had a good producer on it. But Weiner, he's one of these guys. Then he's like, and then let's go in, and he goes into a deli. Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Councilman Weiner, and he comes up, from a-holes, blah, blah, blah. One of those guys, like completely just a douche.
A total douche.
Yeah, and he was Chuck Schumer's boy. He was a made man. In fact, for that piece, it may be on the internet somewhere, I also had to interview Chuck Schumer, which I was way out of my depth. I remember being very uncomfortable, not knowing what the hell was going on. But it was obvious. He was a made man, and the whole thing was that Uma had been with the Clintons for 10 years, or at this maybe 5 years before she met Weiner, and they got married. Bill officiated the wedding, but for all indications I have is that there is or has been, or there's a very close personal relationship between Hillary and Uma, and I'm going to say they're lovers. And it was handy to have Weiner on board to play the beard, and he was promised, obviously, a run up to something big, and he was going
to take over Schumer's job.
That's kind of what you'd expect.
Yeah,
and because when you are someone who is pretending to be somebody else, particularly when it comes to sexual frustrations and issues, the guy he can't stand it anymore. So he started texting.
I can't take it anymore.
I can't take it. I got to have
girls. Look at this.
Yes, exactly. And it wouldn't stop. And then, of course, he got caught in the lie, and that made it worse. And then they tried to shut up now. And then he got caught again. This time was really bad, with a picture of him and his Johnson, clearly protruding in his pants with his kid next to him. The whole thing was bad.
That's the third time. This is the third time.
And so Uma says, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm divorcing him. Now, and then I'll shut up. If he divorces, then there's no protection of him testifying against Uma, which may come up someday. And I'm thinking he should avoid small aviation, hot tubs, and canoes on the Potomac. This is very bad for him, and it would be easily explained away as a suicide, and everyone would buy it immediately.
So depressed.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's play Weiner 1. This is the ABC, one of the ABC reports.
Nothing like Weiner 1, everybody.
David Wright for us tonight. David, thank you. And we do move on now to that breaking news about one of Hillary Clinton's closest aides, Huma Abedin, separating from her husband, Anthony Weiner, after reports that he was sexting again. Abedin was with Clinton last night at a fundraiser in the Hamptons. Clinton's opponent, Donald Trump, regularly mentioned Weiner's disgrace in his campaign speeches, calling him a security threat. ABC's Cecilia Vega is with the Clinton campaign tonight.
Tonight, Hillary Clinton's closest aide is splitting from her disgraced husband, an announcement that comes just hours after a New York tabloid reported Anthony Weiner was sexting again. Huma Abedin saying, after long and painful consideration and work on my marriage, I have made the decision to separate from my husband. It was the third time in 5 years Weiner made embarrassing headlines.
I'm here today to again apologize.
In 2011, he resigned from Congress after accidentally tweeting a lewd photo of himself.
I make this apology to my neighbors and my constituents, but I make it particularly to my wife, Huma.
2 years later, as he ran for New York City mayor,
said, let me just reiterate to my wife how sorry I am that
Abedin by his side, even as more women came forward with more sexting allegations.
I love him. I have forgiven him. I believe in him.
Behind the scenes, cringeworthy moments.
We just have the room for a second, you two guys.
All laid out in a documentary released earlier this year.
It's like having a nightmare.
Still, in a recent Vogue profile, Abedin praised her husband for being, quote, essentially a full-time dad to their son Jordan. Today, the New York Post reported that in 2015, Weiner sexted a woman with his son by his side. Abedin has been in the Clinton inner circle for 2 decades. She is the gatekeeper to the woman in charge.
Her number one person, Uma Abedin, is married to Anthony Weiner, who's a sleazeball and a pervert.
Donald Trump today turning Abedin's marriage into an attack.
She's married to a guy that is uncontrolled and uncontrollable. He's a sick person. And, she has access to classified information.
Trump adding, who knows what Weiner learned and who he told.
Boom! Shakalaka-laka!
Yo!
Boom shakalaka-laka.
Yeah, you like that one? It's a new one.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah.
Made it sound like Trump. As they did this report, there's a couple of things to note. One was they had a picture of Uma, I guess just as the word got out, and I think she was in the Hamptons.
Uh-huh.
Because there's a couple of pictures, I think, from the Hamptons where Hillary's cashing in. First, there was the one with Hillary looking like she just got out of bed in some sort of a weird, it looked like it wasn't a bathrobe, but it was a crazy looking
Oh,
dress.
no. This is I saw this. This is it. It's a designer garb. It's a garb is really what it is. But it's almost, she almost looks like a Russian babushka doll.
It's horrible looking.
And what the rumor on the interwebs is that she's hiding medical devices under there, catheters, all kinds of stuff.
Got pumps. She's like Dick Cheney. Anyway,
she got her heart in a bag.
Uma, they said there was a picture of her, and she looks so depressed.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
it was not a pleasant sight. But they,
hey, divorce sucks.
Divorce,
especially if it's public.
But this is humiliating to her. She's seems like a very, she doesn't like this, and
no.
She's a targeted woman, which is probably, considering her background, is not unexpected. Let's play that. This is the clip now. This is interesting because ABC, which I put in the Leaner report, in the kind of the quasi-Trump camp, they decide to balance off this report a little bit, because this was like a kind of an, more or less an anti-Hillary thing. But so here's the way they do this. This is the balance. And I thought this was it's about as unbalanced a balance as I could imagine. But this is the balance of this is the end. As they finished that long report you just played, now they wrap it with this.
And Cecilia Vega joins me now. Cecilia, Trump also dealing with his own controversy tonight involving former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke.
David Duke is running for Senate, Tom, in Louisiana, and he put out a robocall urging voters to support both him and Donald Trump. A swift response from Trump's campaign tonight, disavowing the former KKK leader. You'll remember that last year Trump came under fire for not disavowing him fast enough, Tom. A different story tonight.
Cecilia Vega for us. Cecilia, thank you.
So they just put a whole bunch of stuff on the shelf. It's like, hey, we got to balance this shit out. Got a Trump thing? Got a Trump giblet? Give me one of those.
Yep.
That's exactly how. In fact, it went more like,
we got to balance out this. We got to balance out this report. Give me a Trump reel, 30 seconds, please.
That's how they do it.
You love that.
I do. I'm good at it. I should have been a director.
You should have been a director.
All right, everybody.
But a television director, not a movie director.
Television director, which is different.
Yeah.
It's a guy in a control room, and if you've ever worked with, this is inside.
I've lived this for decades. That's why I do it.
But when you work with him, if you're in the control room, there's different styles of guys who do this work.
Hell yeah!
And there's and the guys who are. The guy who we used to use the tech TV guys were very low energy, and people said, "Geez, these guys in there." Yeah, I never, people who had the clue. They said, "This guy's low energy."
You know why? Go ahead. I want to explain my experience.
They would bring in a guy. There's one guy that's in the Bay Area who's extremely famous consultant who does this kind of work, and he goes in there and holy mackerel, he gets the place jacked up.
Right.
He's calling shots. He's jumping around. He's yelling and screaming at everybody and condemning them and telling them to do this and that. And they're bring the camera in, do this, do that. Right. And and at the end of the half hour or hour, whatever the show is, this guy, everybody's pooped.
Oh yeah. But if you want to see, if you have anyone can do this in America, at least for sure. Go to your local station and say, I'm a student, college student, whatever. I'm doing a thesis, my PhD. I'd like to sit in while you're doing the local news. I'd like to sit in the control room. You will get an education on. It's incredible to watch because you have to be a team. And even though the directors have different styles, here's my experience. So the director does a lot in the homework. He's like, okay, this we're going to have these people, I have this many cameras. Here's how I want it set up. The person doing the most work during certainly a taping or live broadcast is the assistant director. Very typical as a woman in this business. And the assistant director is is about 15 seconds ahead of everybody else. So he or she is saying, okay, camera 3, go set up over there because we got the next item coming up. Camera 2, find a new shot. And then the director, the ones that I've worked with the most, will be just sitting there going like 1, okay, and 2, ready, 2. And we're going to go wide shot, 4. Okay, and we're going to go back to 1. And, so he's pretty much just looking at what is being offered. But it is the assistant director and the camera people who are getting everything all set up. But those guys that you're talking about, I've seen that too. And actually, I don't like that very much. You have directors who are...
They like it much either. I like it a lot. Well, of course, I'm not in there doing any work. I'm just watching. Right. But I think it's just highly entertaining to watch the frenetic guy, frenetic director.
He was explosive, yes.
Yeah, that guy is just wow. Yeah. And they don't keep them usually long, and they go back to these more down, kind of... more relaxed types of people.
And then we had for a while, remember when David Letterman had his female director would talk over the intercom?
Yeah.
He started doing that gag.
Yeah, it was a great gag.
Everyone started doing it. All the directors thought they now had license to come on the intercom.
Show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To be on the show. Exactly.
Yeah, they wanted to be on the show.
And then my favorite, Milton. I loved Milton. Milton was this Greek guy at MTV, young guy, a little older than me, but at the time we were all young. And he directed Club MTV. And he got so much tail, man. It's unbelievable. Hey, baby, you want to be in the shot today?
Oh, God.
Hey, baby, I saw you dancing.
What a sleazebag.
Yeah, and you know who he banged several times? Camille, who later went on to marry, what's his name? The actor from Cheers, that guy?
I don't know Camille.
Kelsey Grammer. She married.
He's one of Kelsey Grammer's wives.
Yeah, divorced, of course. But yeah, she was 60 and she looked 30. It was amazing. It was Mr. Potato Head put together. It was really cool. Anyway, how do we get sidetracked?
You started because you do the bit, do that bit, and although it's more like a movie guy.
In fact,
hey, get these guys moving on to another topic already, will you?
It's a guy who it's kind of it's a composite of different kinds of guys who would have a megaphone, which is not likely, but it's everybody put together. It is a fantastic bit.
Good.
Well, as long as you don't overuse it.
I won't overuse it. I'll
but
be
you are great. It's exactly you got the right chatter, the right buzzwords, the right sound, the nastiness, the whole thing is perfect.
Oh.
All right, enough of the love fest. Can we move on? And 3, 2.
That's what the director would say.
Yeah,
being an a-hole.
That's exactly what he would say.
Hey, so I watched Trump's speech in Phoenix. Actually, I watched most of his stuff yesterday. I watched the thing with the Mexican president. I watched him in. I see you have some stuff here as well. I deconstructed his speech with a couple of clips, but maybe we'll start with your stuff.
What do I have?
You say Trump to Mexico? I see you have Mexico stuff.
Oh,
here.
That's just, that's on the intro. That's a good setup.
Let's set it up with that. Which one do I do?
Well, which ones are there?
I got your clips. There's ABC, and then there's one with a kicker.
The ABC goes first, then you play the kicker.
John, this surprise trip was a real gamble for Trump.
It was a big gamble, Tom. Trump could have faced mass protests. He could have been hammered by Mexico's president. But this was a gamble that paid off. Candidate Trump's first meeting with a world leader, and he seemed able to play the part. Tom?
Jonathan Carl for us tonight. John, thank you. Also today, Hillary Clinton trashed Donald Trump and his trip to Mexico, describing it as just a photo op. She's back on the campaign trail tonight after days of glitzy fundraisers and some troubling news for her in the polls. ABC's Cecilia Vega is with the campaign in Cincinnati.
Hillary Clinton didn't mention Donald Trump's name or even the country he was visiting. What she did say, he is not a leader.
It's more than a photo op. It takes consistency and reliability. And it certainly takes more than trying to make up for a year of insults and insinuations by dropping in on our neighbors for a few hours and then flying home again. That is not how it works.
She also fired off this video using Trump's own words against him, including his attack on a Mexican-American judge.
We're building a wall. He's a Mexican.
This is only Clinton's fourth public appearance in 2 weeks. Trump clocking in more than 3 times that, and she's still not taking questions.
What message do you think Donald Trump's Mexico trip sends, Madam Secretary? Do you have plans to go to Mexico, Madam Secretary?
In recent days, Clinton has instead been in the posh Hamptons, where she raised more than $12 million with A-list celebrities like Bon Jovi and Paul McCartney.
Party!
But with just 69 days...
Wow, that must have been some party. Woo!
But with just...
Now, you don't even have to play the rest of it, but let me just make a few comments. This is on ABC again.
Yeah.
Incredibly anti-Hillary piece. It sounds like she's lazy. She doesn't.
Yeah, she's hanging out with Bon Jovi.
She's hanging out with Bon Jovi and the Hamptons, just cashing in. And by the way, when they have the clip of her speaking, I think that was to the VFW.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that she commands $225,000 for a speech if that's the way she talks? Low energy, and then Mr.
And her hair looked horrible.
You noticed it too?
And it looked like she had less hair than she normally has.
Her hair? Where is the hairdresser from Paris? Fly him out.
Pierre.
I saw that hair, and it's like, if she's in the Hamptons, she's got access to great hairdressers. They're all over the place up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it looked like somebody just did a comb out. And
Not even. She went down to
She just... I don't know. I have no idea what was wrong there.
It was flat. It was really bad. It was bad. Huh.
She's blowing it.
Yeah, I agree. What's your kicker?
The kicker's not important. The kicker's just that Biden's going to go out and speak for her.
Well, let me hear it now.
We agreed on the importance of ending the illegal flow of drugs, cash, guns, and people across our border, and to put the cartels out of business.
Well, perfect. This is rather interesting.
That was the kicker?
That's what it says. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my... No, I made a mistake. That was my clip, and I was like, wow, you have the same clip as me. I'm an idiot.
That's not my clip.
I'm sorry. Here's your clip.
And Cecilia joins us now from Cincinnati. And Cecilia, Hillary Clinton is about to get a big assist from the White House.
President Obama will be out at least a dozen times to campaign for her between now and Election Day to try and help her win young voters. Vice President Biden will be out at least twice a week starting tomorrow right here in Ohio. Tom?
Cecilia. Right, so here's what happened. Both our clips are exactly the same length. Looking at them, they both say Trump in Mexico. And I played the wrong one. I'm sorry. I thought you had the exact same clip as I had, which I'd like to play because I have kind of a different theory, maybe, about why he went to Mexico.
Okay.
So he flies into Phoenix, and he does, his, which I thought was a very interesting speech to listen to. He gave us a lot of information, although you wouldn't know it from listening to the mainstream news. But this is what he started off with. I'll play it again.
We agreed on the importance of ending the illegal flow of drugs, cash, guns, and people across our border, and to put the cartels out of business.
Okay. There we go. Now, so we have discussed this wall before, and it has always been my theory, whatever you want to call it, that this wall will be fantastic for controlling the drugs, mainly the drugs. The money is a banking issue, but mainly the drugs. The drugs are not going to stop, but maybe we can, and I think this is where Trump is coming from, thinking that he must have some ties to at least cartel / gangs mob in New York. You can't be a builder without knowing the guys for sure. And that he went to the president of Mexico, who has known ties to drug cartels, or I would probably say a drug cartel. He is, let me see, I have...
it would have to be Sinaloa, or it wouldn't be.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's Sinaloa.
And that's the ones that we're doing business with, as
yes,
we reported in the past.
Now, did you notice recently, that was very underreported, I think we may have just talked about it ancillary, that two things happened. 24 members of El Chapo's Sinaloa drug cartel were arrested. Let me give you the date on this. This was a couple months ago, and that happened in Tucson. Now, I think these may have been, I'm not quite sure if they really were Sinaloa or what the deal is, but there was a big roundup. And just a few weeks ago, we had a big roundup of mobsters in New York. 46, in fact, that the FBI arrested. Now, we know the FBI is on the Trump side. Trump is very kind to FBI. The feds claim that this was the East Coast LCN enterprise. But at the same time, which was almost not reported, John Gotti's grandson was arrested on some form of drug charges. So just taking it out into theoretical, because I really don't have much more information, but these issues, I mean, you get 46 mob members. What did they have a field day? Were they camping? How'd you get them all at the same? What were they doing all at the same time? All happened to be around, and we rolled them all up. No, it's coincidental. So maybe Trump went and said, look, man, I don't know what Hillary offered you, but I've got the FBI. We'll clean out all these. Look, we already did a little pre-cleaning for you. We got rid of these other New York guys. They're no good. All the shitty guys who pretend they're Sinaloa or they're not or whatever it is, we're moving all those out of the way. This is all fantastic. So when I'm president, we're going to have a special door for you and for the drugs or whatever. Notice he always says illegal drugs. It never says drugs or wage. It's always illegal. Well, maybe it won't be that illegal if it's kind of sanctioned. And this would probably explain why the president was so easy on him. Because he knows, look, it's a 6-year tenure. I think he's been there 3 years now. So he's going to have another 2-3 years with the next president. And this guy, the Mexican president is definitely in with Sinaloa or he's not dead. Does that tell you anything? He's been rounding people up, but he's not dead, and not everybody gets rounded up. So I'm thinking that this was the intent of the meeting. That's all that really Trump seemed to want to talk about in the beginning of his speech.
The beginning of the speech is the giveaway. That's what you concluded.
That was the first words out of his mouth.
True.
First words out of his mouth.
That was on his mind.
Yeah. Okay, so now...
Well, supposedly, Niento Piento, whatever his name is, the president down there, his name is always hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Invited both Trump and Hillary. Mm-hmm. And Hillary didn't have the energy to go down there or didn't want to.
Well, it's not typically done, but she...
No, nobody does it. She probably knows the proper way to do it, and Trump doesn't, so he shot down there, making himself look good, and that's why Hillary got so bent out of shape and her hair was a mess when she gave the speech to the VFW.
Uh-huh.
Without mentioning Trump. It's like that she went out of her way not to mention Trump, and then she goes into this long... She's spending way too much time, it seems to me, from a strategic perspective, drawing attention to Trump.
Oh, everyone's drawing attention to Trump.
About.
Yeah, that's what everyone seems to be doing, drawing attention to Trump. Oh, hell yeah. But also, if Hillary wants to go somewhere like Mexico, she can't just say, like, I'm sure Trump is like, hey, let's go to Mexico. Warm up the jet. We're on the way. No, Hillary has to bet. First of all, someone else has to pay for the jet. Right there. We know that. We know she's going anywhere, she's not paying for the jet. Someone has to pay for the jet. People have to go ahead of time. She's got a whole operation that she thinks is necessary for her travel. I don't know. Maybe they have to get the medical devices in place and her dialysis machine. I don't know what she needs, but it's not that simple for her to pop over. And I think it was a brilliant move. The funniest thing was to see the heads exploding on television. Because, to see Donald Trump looking very leader-like next to the president of Mexico and the president of Mexico being like, hey, yeah, this is great. And only kind of tweeting later, oh, I did say at the beginning of our meeting, we're not going to pay for the wall. No mention of that. No mention of that in this press conference. Also, it was apparently supposed to be just 2 speeches and there would be no questions asked. And then Trump went to questions right after. And so, of course, I was switching around and I thought Rachel Maddow was funny. By the way, on her set now, she has a Trump piñata on her set next to her.
Right on the set.
Yes, right over her shoulder. in the background. But
no bias there.
Yeah, a Trump pinata. It's going to hit one of the candidates. Yeah, it's really, really disgusting. So she gets Jose, whatever his name is, on from Univision. And
the Trump hater.
And so Rachel Maddow has a lead into this, which is funny. And then he has a theory because, of course, this is the Mexican president's very, very smart. Now, the Mexican president, he laid a trap for Trump.
Jose, do you have any sense? What is your guess about why the Mexican president did invite Trump? I mean, one theory is that he never thought that he would come, and then he just had to deal with the consequences once he decided to show up. I mean, when I look at just what I understand about his political motivation, inviting somebody who is probably the least popular human being on Earth.
Oh, really? John, the most unpopular human being on Earth for Mexicans.
For Mexicans.
Motivation, inviting somebody who is probably the least popular human being on Earth among the Mexican people, bringing that guy in for anything other than a dressing down, it makes no political sense to me at all. Why do you think he did it?
For a dressing down. He should have dressed him down. That's what's going on. Okay.
I think that I have to go, and again, I don't like speculating on things that I have no evidence on, but I have to think that the president...
do it anyway.
He's on TV. He's got to do something.
I think that the president, Peña Nieto, felt that by bringing Donald Trump in here and actually saying, I'm looking forward to the future, and dressing him down would be very beneficial when he's got such low approval ratings. But I think he just wasn't expecting what Donald Trump did and said and how he did it.
Okay, so they agree the idea should have been bring him in, dress him down. What exactly does that mean, dress him down?
Cut him a new butthole.
Oh, they should have said that. And here's the theory.
I'll tell you, this is going to have repercussions here in Mexico, Rachel, because already people were wondering why he had invited Donald Trump. And then after today, I wouldn't be surprised, Rachel, if in the next couple of days, maybe a week or two, mysteriously leaked video of that meeting showed up on national network television here, which have a very close relationship with the president of Mexico and the Revolutionary Party that he represents. Because if the president of Mexico was that dogmatic with Donald Trump and then is being in front of his nation, because this was shown to the country here today, told he's a liar, I wouldn't be surprised if that video shows up.
Wow.
I just would. Coincidentally, like a freak of nature.
Yeah, coincidentally, like a freak of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wishful thinking, buddy.
That is wishful thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so now if you listen to...
But the other thing is, you listen to those two going with, unlikely pair, but they keep mentioning that unless somebody proves this wrong, he invited both Hillary and Trump.
Yeah.
They never say that. They keep saying they invited Trump only. Well, what's the reason for that expletion? What's the reason for them leaving that out?
Because it's very poor that, because Trump did a good thing. He looked great and Hillary wasn't there. So that, I think the idea is to protect Hillary from looking stupid and foolish for not going. How's that?
Yeah, maybe.
What else?
I can't think of anything else. That's why I'm asking.
So Trump did this speech, which I thought was. I liked his demeanor. I liked how he talked. I was listening to. I was really trying to figure out what he was going to do, what he was going to say. He had some very, very important points that are not being discussed. But I just turned on. It's hard to even turn it on Thursday show days. I turn on CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I'm looking at everything. All they're talking about is, no one didn't talk about who's going to pay for the wall. They should do a tech podcast. They sound pretty similar. But Trump had some actual policy statements in his speech, which he read, but they were interesting, and I looked them up. I have not heard anyone talk about this since his Phoenix speech, about what he actually said.
We will restore the highly successful Secure Communities program. Good program. We will expand and revitalize the popular 287G partnerships, which will help to identify hundreds of thousands of deportable aliens in local jails that we don't even know about. Both of these programs have been recklessly gutted by this administration, and those were programs that worked. This is yet one more area where we are headed in a totally opposite direction. There's no common sense, there's no brain power in our administration by our leader or our leaders. None.
Which I thought was a good ISO.
None.
I don't know, I just like it. Okay, so why does no one take 5 seconds of time to go look these two programs up?
Why?
That would be crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That would be work. Secure Communities and Administrative Immigration Policies is an American deportation program that relies on partnership among federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. ICE, which is our deportation force, we do have one. That is the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. The Interior Immigration Enforcement Agency within Department of Homeland Security, they will be running this program. And the idea is to identify criminal aliens through modernizing information sharing with the states and local communities, prioritize enforcement actions to ensure apprehension and removal of dangerous criminal aliens, and transform criminal alien enforcement processes and systems to achieve lasting results. Sounds pretty good. There are some other things in this which are troublesome. The biometric database, which ICE and FBI are working on together to take advantage of the already strong relationships they have. Now, this does not mean that every American citizen will have to hand over their biometrics, but it's only a matter of time, believe me. Now, this program was kind of put on the back burner by the Obama administration, and there were a couple of lawsuits that slowed a lot of things down, but it seems like a reasonable program. The second one is the 287G program, which I'd never heard of. And this is the Delegation of Immigration Authority, Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act. And in this, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, the largest investigative agency in the
Is it Immigration Nationality or Immigration Naturalization?
It says Immigration and Nationality Act.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more to it. This is just one section, 287G. As a part of DHS and ICE's mission, it enforces federal immigration laws as part of their Homeland Security mission. ICE works closely with federal, state, and local law enforcement partners in this mission. The 287G program, one of ICE's top partnership initiatives, allows a state and local law enforcement entity to enter into a partnership with ICE under a joint memorandum of agreement, MOA. The state or local entity receives delegated authority for immigration enforcement within their jurisdictions. Sounds like another reasonable idea. I mean, yes, we'll have Gestapo, but if you want to get illegal people out of the country, we had these programs in place, and they apparently have been thwarted, suppressed, or by executive order, been told not to follow through on these. So I find it interesting that no one just said, hey, what is he really talking about? And there's really no new laws necessary.
That's an old argument, and I think it's true. We have all the laws on the books. You don't need to do a reform. That's what they say, immigration reform. There's no reason they're not enforcing the laws they currently have. Why would they want to, develop new systems?
Then I'll correct you. They do enforce the laws they have, but on interesting people. I've dealt with the U.S. immigration system,
right?
So I have standing in this area. And the biggest problem is it's a ripoff. It's too expensive. It costs about $5,000 per person to go through the process, of which half, actually, is about half for the lawyers or legal fees and half in fees to Department of Homeland Security, which are really outrageous fees. And funny, I've said it before, one of their fees on one of the, I think maybe even the biometrics form, is $420. Yeah, I get the joke, DHS. Very funny. Yeah, I get it. Now, there is one difference in what Trump is going to do. So he said very specifically the only path towards being a legal resident, not even a citizen, but a legal resident, is to return from the country you came from and then come back in and or apply for the process through whatever process there will be, which Trump promises will be a very efficient process. And anything would be more efficient at this point. But it's not broken, except for the idea that you can come in on a visa waiver and just stay, and then after 10 years say, "Oh, I want to be a citizen." So he does have an exception to this, and I had to listen to it a couple times to really understand what he was saying. But I think there's a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room in this.
And the establishment of our new lawful immigration system, then and only then will we be in a position to consider the appropriate disposition of those individuals who remain. That discussion can take place only in an atmosphere in which illegal immigration is a memory of the past, no longer with us, allowing us to weigh the different options available based on the new circumstances at the time.
Here's what I hear. You are going to be pretty safe until we have the new laws in the books. And then if you're still here, we'll have a number of options to see what we're going to do with you. Sounded kind of weak to me.
Sounds like that's what he said, yes.
Yeah.
It might be weak.
But
definitely not his old style, his old thing.
No. But I don't think anyone is really even. All I hear is the who's going to pay for the wall everywhere. This is not a hard thing to just look up.
I can't get off that.
I can't. It's annoying.
No, not you.
Oh, they can't get off of it. No, it's super annoying.
You can't get off it either. But I mean, I don't even think that's much of an issue. I mean, yeah, the Mexican, everyone's thinking, are they going to write a check? The Mexican government going to write a check for the wall? No, you just have an excise tax or something of stuff crossing over, where people who are coming in from Mexico to do some day work, you charge them a dime.
Yeah,
that's how and they're paying.
In
for
fact,
the wall,
it says that on John. It says that on Trump's website.
Yeah,
I mean, it's there in black and white. It says, "How will Mexico pay for the wall? By levying fees for entry into the United States." Duh.
It pays for a lot. It'll pay for a lot.
Yeah.
Give me those nickels and dimes.
Well, it's not very expensive. A couple billion to make a wall. Hey, George Soros.
Speaking of a wall.
George Soros. I don't think that he's going to win. George Soros thinks Trump is going to win, actually.
I heard that. I listened to that little spiel.
Should we listen together?
Well, you might as well. I don't know what he's talking about, to be honest about it. He's going to win the popular vote by a lot and then lose the Electoral College. No, that's not that. You can't do that. It's not possible.
Oh, I don't have to play the clip now. That's exactly what he said. No, it's what he said. It's what he.
But what is the fact that Donald Trump is not fading?
I got to practice this guy.
It's not fading.
I'm sorry.
Right, that he is still very popular. Tell us about the angst or fears about voters, and what are the policies that the voters in the U.S. should be focusing on?
Well, here I have to confess to a little bit of bias. So you take that into account. I think it's going to lead to a landslide for Donald Trump in the popular vote, not in the electoral vote, because their paid political announcements will have a big role, and so the electoral thing will be closer. But the popular vote will be a landslide, because we are a small minority of extremists, and so we are all moving in that direction.
Yes.
And while I don't think that Donald Trump has any chance of being elected,
you think Hillary Clinton is a done deal?
Yeah, and I do think actually she's the one who's most qualified.
Comrade Dvorak, why do you not think he can win the popular vote, but not the
the electoral college is pretty closely tied to the popular vote. The reason it exists is to prevent some horrible tragedy from happening, which of course is what everyone thinks Trump would be, and it's generally only kind of kicks in when the vote is kind of close and one party kind of wins, like by a small margin, they win the popular vote, but then the electoral college gives it to the other person. This shows up with Gore versus Clinton. I think it may have shown up with the Kennedy election.
You don't think it's possible that could happen?
No.
It's one of those things.
I'm saying that based on all the elections that have taken place, it's never happened. It's never happened. It happens if there's a very close vote, but it cannot happen if it's a landslide. It just can't.
But we do know that the Electoral College is in place mainly to ensure that if some crazy person is elected, that they cannot become president. Is that not what we've always...
That was the original intent. But over time, it's turned out to be kind of a... I don't know. I've written on this, and I think I've linked to it a couple of times, and I got an essay out there saying that I don't see how this Electoral College can continue to exist, mainly because it hurts the media. And
how does it hurt the media?
It hurts the media, and so I'm suspecting that eventually the media is going to get a clue and say, "Wait a minute."
But how does it hurt the media?
It hurts the media.
How?
Here's why it hurts the media: because you designate, you start a campaign, you designate 5 states as the important states that you have to win, because when you win those 5 states, you get the Electoral College votes.
What are those 5 states? They're Ohio.
It depends on the election, but generally speaking, it's Ohio, Pennsylvania. There's states like California, for example. Let me do it in a little backwards way by explaining it this way.
Please.
There's states like
California. Stop. I'm going to stop you there. Since we have an international audience who are probably not educated at all by the media in their own countries, why don't we just explain briefly how the Electoral College works?
The Electoral College, if you win, there's 50 states. Each state has X number of Electoral College votes. If California goes to one candidate, the Electoral College gets their votes. And the Electoral College is a separate entity, and it has a meeting, and it says, okay, you get your votes. Here's all the votes get piled into who voted for who and who voted for who, and then they decide who the president is. They're the ones who elect the president, and it's done in a kind of a representative democracy way. And when you have states, winner take all states like California, where all the Electoral College votes go to one candidate, and California has got lots of votes, and California's in the bag.
Right.
It's in the bag for the Democrat, which would be Hillary Clinton. The media in California suffers. They get no advertising benefits. They get no money whatsoever. The Chronicle, the Los Angeles Times, all these guys get screwed out of millions and millions and millions of dollars in advertising. And we're talking about a couple $1 billion that are going to go into advertising, and those billions go to places like Ohio. That's always on the cusp. Well, it could go either way. So, boom, Ohio gets all the money. All the newspapers, dipshit operations in Ohio get all this money, and they just run ads. All that includes the radio stations, the television stations, the newspapers. They all get this money, and California gets nothing. Well, this sucks. We got the most votes. We get no money from the election. The media doesn't like that.
I gotcha. So they probably in California, the news probably doesn't even talk about the Electoral College at all.
There's no reason to talk about anything in California. It's in the bag for the Democrats.
And just so you people know, it's confusing, but a college can, of course, be an educational institution, but it also is an organized group of professional people who have particular aims, duties, and privileges. So it's an association, a society, a club, an institute, a fellowship, a guild, a lodge, a club. And the number of Electoral College votes is determined by size or number of inhabitants of the state?
It's by population.
Yeah. Which is why we used to count slaves as half a person.
Yeah, or a third, I think.
Damn. So 3 slaves. Hey, I got another vote here. Very nice.
Well, yeah, the vote would be taken by this is a controversy that was written about by Karl Marx, and there's a fantastic book on the American Civil War by Karl Marx and I think Engels, and it was mostly papers, a collection of papers and letters back and forth between Marx and Engels.
Well, Marx was a blogger.
Marx was a blogger.
Yeah, he was one of the early bloggers.
And Engels wasn't. Engels, by the way, was the hard ass of the two. And people don't realize, and I've talked this over with people that kind of know more about this than I do. And the whole idea of Marxism really, and it should be Engelism.
Yeah.
Engel was the hard ass.
Yeah.
Marx was a journalist. He wrote for a couple of New York newspapers.
Yeah, blogger.
He was a blogger.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about how the South, and this, I really have to go back and look at this a little more closely because I never heard this before, and I was kind of specializing in Civil War studies when I was at Cal. And Marx says that the slave owners in the South, because they had these extra votes of these slaves when they had these meetings, like if you're a slave owner, you go into a meeting and you got two citizens off the street who don't own slaves, which most people didn't. And there's a husband, I guess the wife didn't have the vote at all, but there's the husband with his one vote, and some slave owner comes rolling in there with 500 votes.
Yeah.
And it was the slave owners who who made the Civil War happen by ganging up on the normals and voting them down to we'll take on the North. Well, wait a minute, we're the ones that are going to have to fight. I got one vote, you got 500. You're not going to be fighting. I am. Too bad. And it was like that's how a lot of the Civil War action began, because of these slaveholders who definitely didn't want anything to change, and they didn't mind having all these, the kind of the farm hands go out and go to war against the North. It was lopsided and unfair.
Right.
A lot of people think the Civil War would have never happened if the voting didn't include these slave votes. That's according to Marx. Again, I have to look into it.
Okay, but back to the idea of the Electoral College, it will represent the popular vote and will not be rigor-jiggered or anything like that.
It generally, it should. Now, the thinking of Soros, even though he didn't explain it very well, is the following. And there were some people talking about this. It is hoped that certain states, California's already in the bag, so there's a lot of votes right there. There's certain states, if you can carry these big popular states like Pennsylvania, the states I always talked about is Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, Florida, and a couple others. If you can, and then take into account the states that are always going to be in the bag for the Democrats, which includes California, you should be able to win no matter what the total is. Right, if you can take those few states.
Right, you should be in the bag.
Yeah, and that's what they're planning. Right. And that's what Soros is talking about.
Got it. But I like that at the end there he said, I don't even think Hillary's the most qualified. That's pretty interesting.
No, he said she was the most qualified.
No, I do not think she's most qualified.
No, that's not true.
Really?
He says, I do think she's the most qualified.
It's one of those cognitive bias. There you go. I was so sure that he said, I don't think.
Well, I could be wrong too, but as far as I can tell.
Let's go to the end here. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me get to the end. Sorry. It's taking me a second to fast forward through.
It's like somebody belching.
Here we go.
Donald Trump has any chance of being elected.
But you think Hillary Clinton is a done deal?
Yeah. And I do think actually she's the one who's most qualified.
Okay, I guess you can hear do. I do think. There you go. That's my programming. That's how it goes. Even though I was the one that says she is uniquely qualified to run the empire.
Yeah,
it was a little different.
It's different.
Now, because there's worry out there, and my goodness, when Donald Trump said, "Hey, this election is rigged," everybody lost their crap over it. Oh, he's setting us up to say it's rigged. Another tech show.
You're into that guy's voice today.
I know. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're on a roll with that voice.
That guy is with me today. So I told you this because I read all these IT websites, government IT websites and stuff, and there's an internal thing that I'm subscribed to. And I knew that they were going to start looking into the cyber aspects of it. We chuckled about that maybe 2 weeks ago. Well, it looks like the mainstream media has finally caught on. And interestingly, there's no outrage over this now being propagated as a meme coming from the government itself, that we have to be very worried about our election process. And of course, you might as well just blame it on Russia.
Well, I got a lot of clips on this.
Well, I'll start. NBC.
As the nation prepares to vote 69 days from now, NBC News has learned that a top-secret U.S. intelligence group has already been tasked with looking at Russia's election-related hacking. The White House gave the mission to a Cold War legacy organization called the Foreign Denial and Deception Committee. And today, the FBI director suggested his agency is also on the case.
Those kinds of things are something we take very, very seriously and work very, very hard to understand so that we can equip the rest of our government with options for how to deal with it.
U.S. officials say after trying and failing to get into Arizona's online voter registration system, Russian hackers penetrated a similar system in Illinois, copying but not changing or damaging a small fraction of the data. But state election officials say it would be much harder for any outsider to hack into the completely separate individual devices that count the actual votes.
If it's not on the internet and you're not voting via the internet, the only way to hack into anything would be machine by machine.
States that use optical scanners still have the paper ballots as a backup. Even so, security experts warn that touchscreen systems with no paper backup still in use are much more vulnerable, especially to an insider hack.
I think really it's negligence for a Secretary of State anywhere in the country now not to have a paper trail for their votes, not to have some backup system, because the risks are just too great in this cyber Wild West.
Also today, Democrats in Congress asked the FBI to look into whether Russian hacks into the Democratic National Committee were an attempt to help Donald Trump's campaign. Tonight, intelligence officials say they doubt the Russians are trying to help Trump, but the thinking is that Russia is trying to undermine confidence in the U.S. election system, even if it can't actually manipulate the vote.
So there we have NBC brazenly blaming Russia.
Interesting.
Brazenly blaming Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. I have actually the clip of the day.
Well, hold on. I want to set it up. I'll give you a nice ramp up.
I just wanted to say something before we get to my clips. I'm stunned, since this was NBC, that they wouldn't have emphasized that the Russians are trying to get Trump elected, because they've been doing that until this report. I was actually surprised by the conclusion that he drew.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I'll do ABC, and the reporter on ABC, I mean, if I was running ABC News, I would call her into my office and I say, don't you know how to rhyme? Are you a complete moron?
Election officials are hoping that tomorrow goes off not only without a hitch, but also without a hack.
Oh, no. If you're saying hitch, follow it up with glitch or a hack. That was bad television. She could have done so much better.
Of course, the most important part of our election process is making sure the results are tamper-proof. And just one day before our primary, we know the FBI has issued a bulletin warning state election officials nationwide of the danger of foreign hackers. This comes after a summertime security breach concern here in Arizona. We asked Secretary of State Michelle Reagan about it.
We took our entire voter registration database offline so it could be inspected by a cybersecurity team. So the best of our knowledge and the best of their knowledge, no information was either hacked or stolen or compromised from our database.
Reagan says after this concerning breach this summer, they did upgrade the cybersecurity system, and they think that they have things locked down tight for primary day.
Hey, have you checked out the Norton antivirus? Yeah, let me upgrade it, do it quick. Oh, there's some couple updates. All right, hold on, I'm installing. All right, issue the press release. That's how I envision it. All right, I'm going to let you go. I do, if you want, if you need it, I do have like a minute from Jed Johnson himself, but you probably have that.
They don't have Jed Johnson.
Oh, well, let's listen to Jed Johnson.
Play the Jed Johnson.
Jed Johnson, who was for a couple months now, maybe just for another 6 weeks, he's still the head of.
Supposed to quit.
Yeah, he's supposed to get out of there.
The nature of cyber threats has evolved since 2002, since 2003. And so
By the way, this, of course, is edited to take out all the lengthy, annoying pauses.
Well, I do think take out his.
Well, no, I leave some stuff. It has to sound a little natural.
I do think that we should carefully consider whether our election system, our election process, is critical infrastructure, like the financial sector, like the power grid. The election process contributes to, there's a vital national interest in our election process. So I do think we need to consider whether it should be considered by my department and others critical infrastructure, which has several implications. It becomes very much part of our focus. There are some short-term, long-term things I think that we should do to bolster the cybersecurity around the election process. I am considering communicating with election officials across the country about best practices in the short term. There are some best practices that exist, and I think we need to share those best practices with state and local election officials soon. And then I think that there are probably longer-term investments we need to make in the cybersecurity of our election process. I think that there are various different points in the process that we have to be concerned about.
I think you can kill that clip.
The only thing by
the way, we have to come up with worst clip of the day, and you would win the award right there.
All right, thank you.
Brought the segment.
All right, please, someone make a jingle. Worst clip of the day. Yeah. We have been holding elections in our country for almost 250 years. I'm all for the ink and the finger. Just like stick your finger in. All right, you voted already. You're done for today.
When we played the clip in the last show of Marty Barron, the editor-in-chief of the Miami Herald, where they got all the ballots in Florida because they have a law to do that, and all the ballots are still there. And they took them all and recounted them by hand because they could.
Yeah.
You can't do that on one of those poke machines.
Well, that is what people should be calling for. And of course, we know from your informal testing and polls, people are all in. Oh, yeah, we should use the internet to vote. Perfect. What a great use of the internet. It is the opposite. It is the worst idea. I mean, look at the podcast awards.
What about them? We won,
I know, but there's always, for every year, there's been issues with fraud, with voting fraud, except this year, of course, when we won.
Except this year.
Yeah, this year, obviously. Because our listeners, they don't do anything. They don't fraud. They don't even vote.
They don't even vote. That's the key.
We also forget to ask them, so that makes that easy. All right, so what do you have?
Well, first of all, let's go to RT because they're following this closely because they saying, hey, why are we getting blamed for everything? So I have.
Is it her again?
No, that's coming.
Okay.
First, let's start with this clip, which is blame the Russians for cyber, which is a general overview.
Now, Russia has again taken center stage in a new cyber warfare attack in the US. This time, Moscow has been accused of supporting hackers who targeted a number of Washington think tanks. These allegations come as the FBI investigates another cybersecurity scandal involving Russia and the US Democratic Party. RT's Caleb Moppin has the details.
The U.S. cybersecurity firm known as CrowdStrike has come forward and said that Russian hackers are responsible for cyber attacks on a few prominent U.S. foreign policy think tanks.
And let's remind everybody, that is the outfit that has that threat map that has flashy things everywhere. Oh, look, there's incoming hacks every second. It seems to be coming from Russia.
Now, no evidence of Russian involvement is being provided. And furthermore, they haven't even really named the think tanks that were involved. It's not really clear which of these prominent foreign policy think tanks are the ones that were allegedly cyber attacked or hacked or what exactly happened. Now, let's remember that when the Democratic National Committee was hacked, mainstream media also repeated the allegation of Russian involvement.
The Clinton campaign is accusing Russia of hacking the DNC.
20,000 emails. And tonight, U.S. authorities say Russian hackers were behind it.
The FBI is now investigating the hack that led to the leak of Democratic National Committee emails.
There's evidence the Russian government was behind the DNC hack. At least that's what some have said.
A few years back, when there were cyber...
Is that how they edited? Is that how RT edited that piece?
That last one was the Russians, at least that's what someone said. That is Chris Hayes. doing his journalistic best.
They just dropped that in. I love that. That's really great.
Investigating the hack that led to the leak of Democratic National Committee emails.
There's evidence the Russian government was behind the DNC hack. At least that's what some have said.
A few years back, when there were cyber attacks in the United States, the media went into an uproar. But back then, it wasn't Russia that was blamed. It was China.
China on American power grids and the wealth of American manufacturing.
Chinese cyber spies gained access to the designs for dozens of major U.S. weapons systems.
The Chinese, we know, have been attacking U.S. systems for a long time.
How do they do that, and how do they keep the rapport and the smiles?
Unlike a few years ago, now whenever there is a hacking or cyber attacking incident in the United States, it seems that mainstream media doesn't blame it on the Chinese, but rather blames it on the Russians. Again, no evidence being provided, but they are widely repeated and circulated in mainstream media.
Things like this alleged cyber attacks are a good way of trying to keep up the heat. Just today, Russia is the target of it. Tomorrow it'll be China, then they'll go back to Russia. So that nobody is there to prove anything or to lay out any facts, and there is no serious investigation. So you can really say whatever you want, and if you say it often enough and if you get enough people to say it, people tend to take that as a fact, even though there may be no basis whatsoever for it.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I don't think that's completely how it works. And I'll just throw this in before I go to the next clips. This switch over from China to Russia.
Yeah.
It was specific to a certain date. The date Snowden was granted asylum.
Hey, I wanted to ask you one thing just briefly. I was listening to Trump about, we'll definitely put a stop on immigrants from Syria, then from Libya, and for we will build safe havens for these people, but we're basically going to, hands off of the Middle East. Does this not present a gigantic opportunity for the Chinese to come into the Middle East, who are already coming in, as we know? Would that open up the Middle East to be, because the Chinese say, hey, look, you saw those guys? Nah, not so. How much fun did you have? No fun. Look, we're going to come here. We're going to build everything for you. It's going to be great. We're going to make Middle East great again.
There is, if we go back in time, maybe you could play the go back in time sound.
Yes. Hold on. If you want to go back in time, let's
go back in time.
Yeah, I need to. Okay. We're going back to which year, John? Where are we going back?
I think we'll go back to 2013, 2012.
Here we are. Hi, John.
Hey. Now, we've discussed the rubbleize theory of what we're doing in the Middle East, which is to rubbleize the whole place completely. And because there's no real reason for the West Clark 7 or anything else, unless the idea is to rubbleize it and then rebuild it. Bring in our boys, Bechtel.
Right.
Bring in the boys who know how to do
who know how to rebuild. Yeah.
And we rebuild and make a ton of money rebuilding. There's more money to be made rebuilding than anything else. Right, Adam?
Correct, John.
And now we go back to the present.
Oh, I thought.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to rubbleize!
And from 2012, we're back in 2016. Hi, John.
Now, it seems to me, listening back to us in the past.
Yeah.
It would be a mistake to now pull out and let the Chinese do all the rebuilding, because they love building roads and all the stuff that's going to need to be rebuilt.
Well,
so we'll be screwing ourselves.
There's only one guy who loves building more than the Chinese.
Trump.
Hell yeah. Just saying. All right, good.
Okay.
Well, we figured that one out.
Still unresolved.
Yeah, unresolved. All right. Next.
All right. Now we go on to our friend. You can play the theme.
Chichikan. 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 Guy in it. Chichikan. Chichikan.
Let me rock it. That's all I want to do.
Chichikan.
Let me rock it.
Chichikan.
Let me rock it. Let me feel for you.
Chichikan.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Guyan Chichikan, star reporter for Russia Today. All right, what do we got?
So our star reporter, they decided they're beating this up a lot because they keep saying, you guys keep calling us hackers and we don't do anything. And so they say, okay, let's bring in the heavy guns here and let's bring in Cheyenne, who makes a couple of points of logic in these two little clips that have to be listened to. But again, here we go, trying to, I still blamed Snowden for all this, but here we go. the Russians telling us that we're full of crap.
Well, if democracy has indeed been hacked, a number of major news outlets claim it's not by social media or by search engine manipulations, but in fact by Russians. This time, cyber attacks have reportedly targeted electoral systems in at least 2 American states, and despite the fact there's almost no evidence to suggest Russia's involvement, US officials name anonymous FBI workers as sources in the media.
Hey.
The Russian hacker trend in the US has become so popular that even fashion magazine Glamour has picked up the latest story. Well, the only piece of actual FBI-related information used in this latest story is a flash memo from the Bureau urging election officials to be aware of the hacking threat, although it does not mention Russia once. Here's our Washington correspondent, Gianni Chikian.
The FBI has so far given no information as to who did the hacking, but that didn't stop major U.S. news outlets from coming up with smashing accusations. The Washington Post cites a spokesman for Arizona Secretary of State who said FBI investigators told them in June that Russians were behind the hacking of voter databases. Again, the FBI declined to comment on any of this. The Washington Post notes that and then quickly moves on to bolster the speculation by saying that, quote, the Arizona incident is the latest indication of Russian interest in U.S. elections and party operations. Other outlets have written in a similar vein, accusing Russian hackers of stealing 200,000 voter records in the state of Illinois. NBC News provides no evidence of Russian involvement at all, but cites an unnamed official who said, quote, this is the closest we've come to tying a recent hack to the Russian government, end quote.
Wait a minute. The closest that we've come means you've missed the mark. When you say this is the closest I've ever been to being correct, you're not correct. This is the closest I've ever come to hitting the target. I didn't hit the target.
Who was that?
That's Lionel.
That's funny.
They now drop him in these reports as comic relief.
It's good.
It's very funny. So she goes on, though, and this is the part 2 of her. She goes on to bring up a logical inconsistency, which until she said it, I actually didn't notice it myself. But this kind of really makes you scratch your head.
Let's take a moment and look at what was hacked. From what's reported, those were voter registration databases of 2 states, Arizona and Illinois. Voter records are apparently so secret that a number of other states, including crucial swing states, put them out there for everyone to see. That's right. In the swing states of Ohio and Colorado, voter databases are accessible to everyone. All you need to do is go to ohiovoters.info or coloradovoters.info to find information on all registered voters in those states, including their addresses and voter ID numbers. And you don't need to be a Russian hacker to do that. Voter databases are also publicly available in Connecticut, Delaware, Oklahoma, and Rhode Island. Let's just for a moment indulge the theory that Russia is somehow interested in voter databases of Arizona and Illinois. The same outlets that are reporting this theory reported that Russia hacked the computer systems of the Democratic Party, the DNC. The fact is that, and this is something that any political campaign staffer would tell you, the DNC has voter databases of all states and much, much more. They have information about who donated to campaigns, how much, and so on. If you say and believe that Russia hacked the DNC, why would it need to separately hack Arizona's or Illinois' voter database? It would have had it by then.
Well, that is interesting because that's what people are hardening their cybersecurity on, but I don't think that's really what the problem is, or the security risk.
I think people are just making mailing lists, but I was listening to this to defend themselves, and I realized that the attack on the Russians hackers has to be what only NBC, by bringing Richard Engel, the foreign correspondent, into the United States. They got to bring this guy. He's a hitman.
Yeah,
he's going to. If you're going to bust up the Russians, you're going to give the Russians, a bad name. Let's do it right. Let's make them murderers.
And we remember Engel was at Sochi, although he wasn't in Sochi. He was in Moscow. Remember the whole report? He's like, look, I connected to the Wi-Fi. Now I've been hacked already. And it was a complete bullcrap piece.
Bullcrap story. Yeah. But listen to this.
And he's an award-winning John Peabody. He has a Peabody, this guy.
Yeah, he's very famous. So here he is if you're going to make the Russians out to be bad guys, let's make them murderers.
The whistleblower who exposed the Russian doping scandal that got so much attention before the Olympics had been living in secret in the United States until now. A hack exposed her information, forcing her and her family to live like fugitives. But who is after her? Richard Engel has the report.
All right.
Russian runner Yulia Stepanova and her family are on the run. They believe they're being hunted by the Russian government.
If something happens to us, it is not an accident. It is not accidental.
If you suddenly end up murdered, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, this is exactly what we have in mind.
2 years ago, Yulia and her husband Vitaly, a former anti-doping officer, exposed the widespread use of banned substances in Russian sports on the German TV channel ARD. Dozens of Russian athletes were excluded from international competitions. A spokesman for President Vladimir Putin called Yulia a Judas.
To call us traitors is not right.
I personally do believe that we are trying to do the right thing for sports, for clean athletes.
We met the couple and their 3-year-old son for a rare interview. They're hiding here in the U.S., but their secret location has just been exposed. Yulia's online account at the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, which keeps track of her address, was hacked. There's no proof yet who broke in, but one main suspect, because at the same time, other WADA members were bombarded with emails containing malware. Experts say it's the work of hackers with close ties to Russian intelligence, the same ones, in fact, who hacked the Democratic Party earlier this year.
The Russian actor that we suspect is behind the DNC incident has a habit of using certain infrastructure that we have seen used in this most recent incident.
Russian officials approached by NBC News would not comment. Yulia, her husband, and little Robert now live like fugitives. They're staying with a friend until they can find a new place to hide.
All right. Turn up your speakers. Just turn them up loud.
Clip of the day.
Yeah, you knew that.
That is doing a hit job.
Wow.
That's a pro.
The Russian murderers, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a pro.
Wow.
Hell with his little minor hacking stories. And he also slipped in the DNC hack in there as though it was fact.
Yeah, Russians. Yeah, my goodness. And that was NBC?
NBC. The Hillary Network.
Wow. Well, with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for cut him a new butthole, Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to the chat room, noagendastream.com. Good to have you guys here as usual. And in the morning to Sooner Slave, who brought us the artwork for episode 855, Burkini Meanie. I like that title. The more I saw it being tweeted, the more I liked it. And this was the Bigot Bunch artwork, which was very funny.
Very, a lot of people thought it was the best.
Yeah, there was some really, really good stuff. I wonder how many people went, who's that? You know, looking at Victoria Newland. Who's that? I don't know who that is.
Well, probably more people than we'd like.
And, of course, we thank all of our artists who always submit their artwork at noagendaartgenerator.com. We choose one after the show, but we also use it for the newsletters, and it's just a beautiful site to go take a look at, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Sooner Slave.
All right, well, we have a few people to thank as executive and associate executive producers, and we have a few very generous executive producers today, at least two.
Nice.
Starting with Stephen Carr, or Steve as he calls himself. He's out of Dallas. And he came in with 666.66, and he combined with his 333.33 from some time ago. If you throw in the penny,
yeah, I got one here.
He becomes a knight.
Excellent.
And he has I'll read this note from him. All I can say is bravo, gentlemen. Keep knocking it out of the park, and don't be dissuaded by those that accuse you of Trump loving. The truth is incontrovertible, which makes many folks uncomfortable. They can suck it. I have made, by the way, this note is like printed with a small typeface and then cut out So it's like it's very small. You'd have to see it to appreciate it.
Okay.
Something about it. I have made previous donations and enclosed a check for 666, and this puts me at the 999.99 level. Can you throw a brother a bone and chip in the last penny for my knighthood? We just did that. I have spent my entire career in telecom and network engineering and would like to be known as Sir Scatter Gather Particle Buffer.
Hold on. Sir, I think that's in there, isn't it? Sir, yes, Sir
Yes,
Scatter
it is.
Gather Particle Buffer. Okay, nice.
Yeah. I have been a listener for a few years and recently introduced my wife to the show. We are in our late 40s and grew up on MTV, and my wife wants to know if Adam still has an 80s hair band bouffant.
Have you looked at Wikipedia? No.
Yeah, he's in Wikipedia. He's got the bouffant, but not the hair
I
band.
don't have a bouffant. I have short hair. Stop it, Dvorak.
Short.
At least I have hair. Well, you have.
You have lots of hair.
You
in
have-
fact,
you have
I
good
would
hair.
say most men your age would be jealous of your hair.
Most men who make jokes about my hair have no hair.
I have hair.
But you weren't making a joke. You're my friend.
Would I make? I said you. No, I didn't make a joke. You're right. I was just mentioning. I said this is still bouffant like. It can be pretty big. You got
No, it's. I had it cut in France. There's zero bouffant.
Oh, you had it cut?
Yeah, it's been cut for a while. You haven't seen me in 2 years. Tina wants to meet you. I said, really?
Why?
Yeah. Why would you want
I would
that?
say.
Oh, geez. All right.
I started my career in the 90s reading all of Dvorak's column in the PC and networking trade rags. I have since been a fan of you two well before you guys came together and feel a kinship. I split my time between Austin, Dallas, and San Jose, California for work and would be honored to buy either of you a beer sometime.
Hey, if you're in Austin, let me know. I'd love to have a beer, of course. Knights always welcome. Always.
Yes, Knights are welcome, and you're now a Knight. Give me some karma and a Sharpton of your choice. And then he has a PS we won't read, and that's regards.
All right, well, I'll give you a conflict.
There's no real conflict.
My favorite, right there. Here's your karma.
You've got karma.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look forward to knighting you in a bit.
Yes, and thank you for the donation. Joseph Castine, $500 from McDonough, Georgia. Please see email sent to Adam. I looked for it. He didn't send me a copy.
Let me see.
J.R. Castine.
Yes, I have J.R. Castine. In the morning to you, John and Adam. No, it says in the morning to you, John. Oh, well, okay. It's sent to you. This is how my life is. To Adam Curry. Donation from Joseph Castine. In the morning to you, John. Anyway. So Adam, here we go. So Adam, you asked on show 855 why I suddenly donated after being a boner for 854 shows. Many times over the years, I thought to myself that I need to make a donation. I just didn't follow through. Yeah, real douchebag move of me, and it's not just right. I've been a listener since a buddy of mine told me of the show, sat me down, and we listened to episode 1 as he's recorded it on a tape player of all things. I made it a point to listen each week ever since. Over the years, through Cranky Geeks and Mevio, I continued to listen and continued to kick myself for not sending in money, but life always seemed to get in the way. The two of you really do provide a much-needed light in the dreary chaos that is our world. Oh, that's a Hallmark card. Through your wisdom and analysis, I've been able to keep my sanity and weather the storm of festering bullshit that is the lamestream media. My New Year's resolution this year was to become a knight. I'd been kicking myself for not donating. I decided that this was it. No more douchebaggery. I was saving my cash to make the jump on your first show in January, but bad luck took a huge dookie on my face. Oh. I got laid off from my IT job of 11 years. I did get a severance package, and I planned to send out some of that money should I find work before the money ran out. As luck would have it, I did get a job in time to have money left over to finally remove my douchebag status. This was no doubt from the countless job karma shots from many fine listeners, dames, and knights. The second donation should bring me to knighthood. Is he on the list? No, he's not on. Is
this his second donation, or I think he says his second donation?
Oh, okay. This is not his. Well, we talked about him on the first show on 855. What did he donate on the first show?
No, I don't think he said that.
This is what he says. You asked on show 855 why I suddenly donated after being a boner for 854 shows.
Oh.
Well, hold on.
Well, does he say what he wants to be called?
Hold on a second. Let me see. Yes, he wants to. Could I be known as Sir Riley Wordsmith? And I'm just pulling up this spreadsheet from the last show. Yes, $500. So he's a knight.
Oh, okay. Well,
dynamite.
Who knew?
Yeah, hold on a second. So he wants a jobs karma to all of his friends at the Tucker, Georgia Care Fusion Facility. I worked there for 11 years, and they were like family to me until Becton Dickinson bought us and laid me off. Okay, yours in truth and light, Sir Riley Wordsmith. Yes, indeed, sir. You will be knighted as well.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Okay. Huh. You continue. I'm going to write this down because we don't have that in the notes.
No possibility of getting it in there. All right. Griffin Vacheron in Foxborough, Massachusetts. What's up? What is this? Jigglypuff and Abercrombie? Please call me out as a D-bag because I've never donated, and then immediately de-douche me.
Oh, okay.
You've been de-douched.
Came in with $333.33. I've been listening to the show since 2011 or 20. Oh, by the way, let me stop for a second and go back to Joseph Castine.
Okay.
He said...
get ready, guys, to bring up the lower third for Joseph Castine.
He said that he's been listening since show 1. So, and a guy introduced him to show 1.
How cool is that? On a tape, on a cassette tape, no less.
Well, he didn't say cassette.
He said tape, but I'm going to...
Could have been reel to reel.
It could have been, yes.
Anything's possible. But the point is that that's outrageous, if it seems to me, because who listens... I'm sorry, I was taken aback. Who would listen to show 1 and then want to keep listening? No offense to me.
No, but he listened to it a while back, I guess. Well, I think it was when the first show came out that he started listening. So he's been listening in real time. He hasn't gone back. So at the time, show 1 was, look, we've evolved.
Yeah.
We've evolved. We've evolved. And he's evolved with us, like lots of people.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for complimenting us on our great work. That's nice of you.
Meanwhile, I have to do something here, if you don't mind. Okay, back. Oh, no.
Shall I continue with this while you fix your problem?
No. I can't fix this. It's just let me just read this, which was partway. Okay. Called me out as douchebag. I've been listening to the show since 2011, 2012, which was partway through my 4 years spent at Michigan State University. I loved it there and made incredible friends, but I'm glad I found the show while still in college, which has got to be great.
Yeah, I agree.
As the effects on my mind when it comes to politics and news might not have been reversible otherwise.
Well, this is good. Yeah, that makes me feel good.
I figured it was time to catch up on my ode value for value, and what better way than the magic number. I thought about trying a donation of $99.99, but then not rolling in that kind. I'm not making 9,999. That's what it says.
Oh, okay. So,
but I'm not rolling in that kind of dough. I hit my close friend Brendan Thomas also donating to this episode in the mouth earlier this year. So I figure my propagating of the formula makes up for it. Anyway, I'm hoping my executive producership can afford me a couple of requests. One, do you guys remember the Sandy Hook episode where John had the Shrimpton clip?
Shrimpton?
That was the best clip of the day ever. Yeah. I have never heard Adam lose it over a clip of the day like that. If you could play the clip either now or at the end of the show, it'd be amazing.
I don't know which clip it is.
The Shrimpton clip.
Shrimpton?
That's what it's. I'm just reading.
Oh, holy shit.
Did you find it?
Yeah, maybe this is it. Let's see.
Now, you're painting a picture of lots of sort of high-level paedophile characters in the centre of government. What on earth purpose would that serve?
Oh, if someone is inclined in that direction and you can supply them with boys, then you've got a hold on them, or girls. There's nothing worse for a politician than being exposed in the murder and sexual abuse of young people. And if you've got a politician who is abusing and killing young girls and boys, but boys or girls, then you've got a hold on them. This has been a standard German intelligence tactic for decades.
Well, surely it's not just the Germans. I mean, the British intelligence surely are using these kinds of tactics. Any intelligence service will want to.
No, we're the good guys. I mean, MI5 and MI6 don't do murder. Obviously, occasionally it's necessary to take people out, but that's always done by independent contractors. We're the good guys.
You're English, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Well, I am British. I'm in favour of the British, and I certainly count myself as a patriotic Englishman, and I am a Britisher, yes. But we are the good guys, and one of the reasons why we're the good guys is we don't approve of the killing of children. We've never get British intelligence setting up a shooting like the Sandy Hook shooting in the United States, which again was set up by the Germans via Mexico.
Wow, yeah, now I remember it. Holy crap. Let's listen to that last bit again. Sorry it took a minute to get through it, but I didn't remember any of this.
Never get British intelligence setting up a shooting like the Sandy Hook shooting in the United States, which again was set up by the Germans via Mexico.
The Germans via Mexico. Hell yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, we played it for you.
Wow, I forgot about that too. That was a dynamite clip. Okay, John, would you be willing to take 30 to 60 seconds to extrapolate on how the WikiLeaks DNC emails imply the Hillary plane crash? I agree with you and read them, but I'm having trouble explaining it to people. Well, there's a series of it's a conversation that took place between a bunch of the staffers, where they discuss in great detail the plane crash if it had happened. They don't know that it has. We haven't been read in, but they outline it all. It's in the wiki. It's just send them the link and let them read it. That's the way I would do it. I think it's linked on one of the newsletters. That specific back and forth that took place, and it wasn't like photos or anything. All right, and 3, refer to Brendan Thomas as Brendan Dunkirk Thomas in the birthday call out. He will thank me later. It's an endearing nickname, apparently. Cheers, guys, and thanks for all the hard work week in and week out. Please send me off with the alternative "Shut Up Slave" clip, which I think is the Italian one.
Yeah.
I love bugs and mac and cheese life. And all the best, Griffin.
And we'll add a karma just for good measure.
Shut up, slave! Stai zitto, schiavo! I love bugs!
Bugs! Tastes like poop.
Living the mac and cheese life.
Mac and Cheese by Ayn Rand.
You've got karma.
Alrighty.
David Boher. Or Booher in Warrenville, Illinois, $333.33. Please accept my second donation of $333.33, making my pledge to become a knight by the end of the year. As always, keep up the good work. I'd like a de-douching, a ham-pocalypse, and a little karma.
De-douching first.
You've been de-douched.
Now here we have ham radio, guys. Ham radio is the public service network of last resort. When the apocalypse comes, we're the guys who are going to save the world, right?
You've got karma.
Right?
John Henry and Fajardo, Puerto Rico, 30303. And he writes in interesting letter. I've been a listener since episode 1, another one. And we even sent money way back in the day to get a space in the No Agenda Armory. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know.
I do.
Oh, you know what? I should
remember. We had a meeting.
We did.
And the idea was that we do not want the show to go in the direction of something like having an armory.
Oh, right. Yeah, we didn't want war stuff, too much of that, because it would
make us look. Yeah, it would be, these guys are white supremacists. They even have their own No Agenda Armory.
Yeah.
So we dropped it for that reason, because it was a publicity. It was a PR problem. It was like, holy crap, we just stopped the armory. He says he contributed a number of times, and this should put him over the top to knighthood. Unfortunately, I've not kept up track with my donations, some of which were cash. Do I need records? I don't know, but he's pretty sure. So we put him on the list. I think If he's not,
Yeah, he's on the list. He's on the list.
Yeah, Sir John. He wants to be Sir John of the Zika since he's in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Regarding Zika, my son-in-law and daughter-in-law are all in healthcare and do not understand the fuss about Zika. It seems like we are all going to die from a relatively harmless disease.
See,
Other than that, no worries.
See, I wish I had these notes in front of me because then I could cue my jingles up faster. You know, we're all going to die.
The real problem is that they are thinking about wide-scale spraying of some pesticide. I guess somebody has to get something out of the 1.9 billion, right? More than the Zika freaking anybody out. And what is freaking me out is that as a condition for receiving the money, food money, people have to sign a waiver that they will not sue the government or anyone else for any injury caused by the pesticide. And there's this thing here. He's got a link. Mm-hmm. He wants karma for all the other producers out there and a special karma for my packaging machinery handbook. This is John Henry's packaging machinery handbook, available on Amazon.
Very nice. All right. I'll give him a little extra Zika here since he's going to be a knight of the Zika.
May I have your attention, please?
Yeah. Zika. Yeah. Where's the money?
$1.9 billion.
Zika. Yeah. Where's the money?
Small heads are coming. You're going to do it. You watch.
We're going to have a problem here.
You've got karma.
Dropping down to associate executive producer with Martin Anderson, a classic Danish name in Copenhagen, 240.57. Dear John and Adam, some weeks ago I had a great day. Already joyous. I was walking to a market in Copenhagen, and what do I spot on the sidewalk? A great amount of money.
Well, that's nice.
With no owners in sight and more money than I feel comfortable putting in my pocket, what do? I promise myself to donate it. That's where the trouble starts. Procrastination. I start using the donation for moral self-licensing, and I still have to actually make the donation. Now weeks have gone by, and I can no longer stand being a douchebag. Here is the donation. I have doubled it as in serious need of a de-douching. Also, I'm applying for a dude named Ben position, so please follow with some job karma. Thank you for your courage.
All right, Sir Martin of Copenhagen. Thank you very much for the found money.
You've been de-douched. Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Nice.
Found money. Yeah, if you find money in your PayPal account, just pass it on. Laura Distanzio, what do you think?
Diazio. Ziadzio.
Could be Zadzio.
Ziadzio.
She's in Dateville, Virginia.
Oh, it's J-Jo. Laura J-Jo. That's how you pronounce it.
It says J-Jo in there?
J-Jo. Diadzio. J-Jo. Shitabajo.
Hey, J-Jo. 23504.
Hey.
She's in Daleville, not Dateville. Thanks for the great show. I've been listening a while, and the lapsed Catholic guilt finally kicked in. My husband, Amit Hajra, who donates on the night installment plan. My husband donates. Okay, her husband donates on the night installment plan. So I haven't been a complete loser, though a de-douching is always appreciated. He hit me in the mouth a year or so ago, and your podcast is one of the few things that we can agree to listen to together. And that's nice.
Wow.
If you can listen to the No Agenda Show together, you'll be married forever.
It's going to be you're going to grow old together.
That's because you won't find another partner unless you go to one of the meetups.
Right. You will grow old together. Grow old together.
The donation is the sum of my kids' birthdays, although they couldn't care less. I'm sure. Keep the shows coming and karma for all. I'm guessing you won't be able to pronounce it. It's J-Jo, close to the word for grandpa in Polish. Huh. We've got the only Indian Polacks in Bottencourt County, Virginia.
Botetourt.
Botetourt.
Yeah, Botetourt.
Which is actually Botetourt.
All right, we're going to de-douche you and hand you a karma.
You've been de-douched.
And thank you very much, Laura J-Jo.
You've got karma.
Yeah.
And finally on the list, Sir Otaku Baron of the Northeast Texas and something else, the Red River Valley in Texas, Louisville, 23456. Thanks for the great coverage and insight into what the rest won't cover. This is true.
Yeah.
I have a thought of it the other day, and it hurt. What? What were they running? What if they were running Donald Trump for president so they can do away with the Obamacare and institute single payer? That would be a plus in my book.
Yeah.
He says that if elected, he'd do away with it. Actually, he was pro single payer, and they used to talk about that. They stopped doing that. Don't you think by having the insurance companies do not like this idea? Don't you think that by having someone like the Donald push it into law, it will make everybody else in government smell sweet to the public after the mess that they've left behind? Just a thought. I've got a Kansas City Barbecue Society competition this weekend and need some mac and cheese karma so we can get paid. Thanks for the courage and sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm looking for the one that. Oh, here it is. I got it. This is the one I want. All right, and some karma, the mac and cheese and karma.
Yeah.
You slaves can get used to mac and cheese, cheap macaroni and cheap cheddar melted together. Mac and cheese, mac and cheese.
All right, I found it. Yeah, dynamite, and that's it.
Yeah, that will be it for show 856.
Good list. Also, I want to mention Gitmo. Hold on, where is it here? Gitmolist.org. There's one of our producers is working diligently on putting together a list of all the resources of the No Agenda show. And if you go to it now, John, you can take a look. I think it's got a lot of it on here. Gitmolist.org. It's got the No Agenda Book Club, NoAgendaCD.com, No Agenda Entertainment, Jingles, Meetup, the News Network,
meta site,
the No Agenda Newsletter, novels by Scott McKenzie, the Peerage Map, the No Agenda
again, No Agenda. I just got the brother. No Agenda.
Gitmolist.org.
Oh, Gitmolist.org.
Gitmolist.org. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like it. So there's, I think you can send feedback. So if you don't see something there that should be on the list,
say something.
Yes, yeah, that's the ticket.
See something. Say something.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Our executive producers and associate executive producers. A couple of nightings coming up later on today. Very excited about that. This is the part of the program where you get the credits, just like any executive producer or associate executive producer would get in a Hollywood production. Except, well, you know, there's some drawbacks. We don't have all the actresses to hang out with, but still, it works the same way. I'm also alerting the affiliates we are going to be going long today. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we seem to be a bit behind schedule. And we'll be thanking everybody else a little bit later on. And remember, we have another show coming up on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And even if you don't have a way to help out financially, you can always be propagating our formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizens.
Squirrel!
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Yeah. Very nice. Now, before we hit the break, we were still kind of talking about election stuff, and I just have a few small wrap-ups. Starting with the meme I identified, which is now propagating. I knew it would happen. Do you remember what I predicted on the previous program?
That we're all going to die.
Yeah, that's true. There's no there. We had a long conversation
the
about
Oakland thing. Right.
Yeah, about the origins of that. And I said, look, I'm hearing this. I'm going to start taping it. And I have my first one. This is regarding the New York Times editorial and the Clinton Foundation. It's not just any old prostitute who's saying this. It is Charles Krauthammer.
Look, the main defense of the Clintons from the beginning of this email scandal, more than a year ago, has always been there's no there. There's nothing here. Just walk on by. There were no classified information. There was nothing illegal, nothing irregular, etc. When you get the New York...
There you go. There's no there. There's nothing to see here. I
Don't
love
look
that.
over here.
Nothing to see here.
Ooh, look at that.
Love that guy.
So you predicted that this is going to become a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got one of the top guys right there.
I got one.
The meme meister.
That's me, baby. And the trap was set, and the trap is now closing. I told you this medical records thing. It's a trap, And they walked right into it, and now it's on the Clinton News Network. Aaron Burnett.
Donald Trump says he'll release his medical records if Hillary Clinton releases hers. But it seems his running mate, Mike Pence, is not as passionate as Trump is about this particular issue.
The American people have a right to know that information. But I'm less concerned about her bad health as I am about her bad ideas.
It comes as more questions emerge about Donald Trump's own health and his unconventional doctor. Dr. David Shiner was President Obama's doctor for more than 20 years. He wrote the letter stating Obama was in excellent health when he was running for president in 2008. And Dr. Shiner, in your letter, you wrote President Obama was in excellent health when he was running for the White House. Donald Trump's doctor has written that he is in astonishingly excellent health. Obviously, I know you perceive a big difference between how you used the word excellent and how he used the word excellent.
Yes, and of course I was referring to a man who was in his mid-40s, who was solid muscle.
Solid muscle.
And
does Obama look like solid muscle to you?
No.
With those mom pants, solid muscle, mom pants.
Mid-40s.
See him throw a baseball.
Oh, my goodness, no.
Yes, and of course I was referring to a man who was in his mid-40s, who was solid muscle, and who was in obviously great condition. He was not 70 years old, the oldest man to enter the White House should he be elected.
Wasn't he also a chain smoker, Obama, at that point? Was he great? Solid muscle?
We forgot all about Obama's smoking habit. Yes, he was. He was a chain smoker at the time.
Excellent health. So how can, I mean, you should at least say he needs to stop smoking or needed to stop smoking because he stopped smoking.
He was not 70 years old, the oldest man to enter the White House should he be elected.
I love this thing. You know, if you're for Hillary Clinton, you should not be saying stuff like that. You should never frame it like he'll be the oldest man elected to the White House. Should he be elected? Ooh.
The oldest man to enter the White House should he be elected. This is arguably one of the most important things Dr. Bornstein ever wrote, and he showed absolutely no concern for the public to whom it was really meant to read. He says all the lab results were positive. Well, when a doctor says positive, it means abnormal. If results are normal, you say the results were negative.
I like that. I think that was good, but this is a well-laid trap.
Apparently got syphilis and gonorrhea and everything.
You're Mr. Trump.
Positive and pregnant.
Positive. Hey-o. So this is going to get fun. This will be, I think this will get played there'll have to be 3 independent doctors. You watch. This is going to be great. In the meantime,
another distraction of the week.
Of course, but it's funny.
It is funny.
I picked up.
I put a prediction out there. I'm going to bring this up. A Red Book prediction that the national anthem is going to be replaced.
Hold on, before you get to that, before you switch topics on me like that, we know Dr. Drew got fired. Well, we don't really know that, but that's the presumption. The coincidence of timing is...
We're still going to stick on this topic. Okay.
Yeah, just for a second.
The Dr. Drew thing, do I have a clip?
Well, I have a clip.
Oh, okay. You play yours.
I have an old clip, which was sent to me by one of our producers. Of course, it's what producers do. This is from his podcast. He did a podcast, I think, on the Adam Carolla podcast network. I think he still does it there. And that's pretty much what he'll be doing for a while. But he's always welcome on our stream. I've already extended this invitation. And he did an analysis of Bill Clinton's health, specifically his alcoholism. And I think it would be fun to listen to this.
I know I'm giving you that one.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I didn't know he had alcoholism.
Well, neither did I, but this is what Drew is saying.
Before he could respond to that kind of treatment, though, he's got to get his alcoholism and addiction under control, because he would just find that psychoanalysis as a means to continue his addictive behaviors. The one's got to come first, in my thinking, because you know how addicts and alcoholics are. They don't engage that piece; they reserve that piece to continue acting out.
Right. I think he's got an addictive personality. I think he's got a sex addiction, but I don't think he's addicted to alcohol.
Oh, he has all the stigmata of alcoholism. Look at his face when he's drinking. He gets parotid enlargement, he gets rhinophyma, he gets telangiectasias and rosacea. He has classical stigmata.
He was afraid that if he did drink, he could become an alcoholic.
I don't know anybody that says that other than alcoholics. There just is not another person that has that problem, unless they have that genetic.
So maybe
potential.
he has almost like a latent vulnerability that he's conscious of, that he senses.
It happens all the time, and now he's expressing it, and then you see it in his face, and off we go.
When do you think he started drinking?
I saw it late, sort of around the Monica time, and maybe even a little before it, because you can watch his face. Look at you will actually see people doing cartoons of him as W.C. Fields, because he develops such classic and pronounced stigmata, and they don't understand it, and they don't understand that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. And like the picture on the back of your book, that is when he is not drinking. Now go put that up against some of the later pictures, and you will see it's not just that he's gaining weight; it is classic stigmata.
Well, I will say, when I visited Ireland, people did kind of confess to me that he got sort of rip-roaring drunk there, but I thought it was sort of when in Rome, do as the Romans.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Huh.
Yeah. So maybe he's been on the shit list for a while, if that's been out there for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I have to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's what it looks like. If you look at the pictures of him when he's just there with his mouth kind of, he leaves his mouth open, and he's just got this kind of dull look in his face. I mean, he perks up when the spotlight goes on him, but when he's not on him, he just doesn't look.
Oh, he's not drinking now. I don't think he's drinking now. No, that's not possible.
Why?
He fall down.
You see him walk?
He doesn't look like a healthy man. I don't think he should be drinking alcohol.
Maybe he should be.
Speaking of which, did you catch this note that was going around? And I'm not quite sure. Let me see who launched this. Let me just see for a second. Where did I read this? U.S. News. A candidate's death could delay or eliminate the presidential election. And
no, I didn't see it.
Yeah, the presidential election could be delayed or scrapped altogether if conspiracy theories become predictive and a candidate dies or drops out before November 8th. The perhaps equally startling alternative, if there's enough time, small groups of people handpicking a replacement pursuant to obscure party rules. There's nothing in the Constitution which requires a popular election for the electors serving in the Electoral College, according to a law professor of University of Notre Dame, meaning the body that officially elects presidents could convene without the general public voting. There's your Electoral College. They could convene without the general public voting.
Yes, I understand that. That is true.
Wow.
Well, that could be a Soros ploy.
It is up to each state legislature to decide how they want to choose the state's electors. It may be a situation in which the fact that we have an electoral college rather than direct voting for presidential candidates. And it may prove helpful, according to this university professor of Notre Dame.
You can start shooting at each other. It's like a spy versus spy.
Who knows? However, Congress would be up against a de facto December deadline as the Constitution's 20th Amendment requires that congressional terms expire January 3rd and presidential terms on January 20th. Although it's conceivable to split legislative and presidential elections, they generally happen at the same time. The possible last-minute replacement of a candidate attracts some cyclical coverage, but this year the scenario would play out after consistent conjecture about the health of Democrat Hillary Clinton and possible hidden agenda of Republican Donald Trump. He's going to kill her. That's what they're saying here.
That's not nice.
No, well, the U.S.
Well,
News.
he might, just in a kind of a generalized sense, he might beat her badly in the debates. Mm-hmm. And then the way you would say, oh, he killed her.
Right.
That could be. Maybe they're referring to that because I don't know.
I just thought it was interesting that kind of popped up.
All right, back to my prediction.
Yeah, the flag.
The anthem.
The anthem.
The anthem is done.
Huh. Really?
It's done.
Okay. Yeah. What evidence do you have? Yes, please.
I don't have any clips. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have some. I'll give you the reasons why I'm thinking this. And I got it out there on Twitter real quick because I wanted to get out there because other people are starting to say the same thing.
Right.
And the triggering mechanism is this local quarterback we have here in San Francisco called Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, I've heard the story.
And he is refusing to stand for the national anthem because he thinks it's Black Lives Matter. And he just says, no, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
So he sits. And so everyone makes a big stink about it, even though you can sit. I don't. Although you did read me that law. What was that law again?
Now, the law is you are supposed to stand, face the flag, or if there's no flag where the music is playing, face the band, face the music,
and put your hand over
your right hand over your heart. If you're wearing a hat, you will hold the hat in your right hand and drape it over your left shoulder. So
now, this is a U.S. code.
Yes, it is.
And now everybody who's analyzing this, well, he can do whatever he wants. Freedom of speech. They're yelling and screaming.
No, there's an actual law that says you have to stand and put your hand over your heart. That's a law.
Yeah, there's an actual law. So he's actually a law breaker.
Yes.
No, but I have not heard one person mention this, which I found kind of stunning, because what you're hearing is he has the right to do whatever he wants.
Nope.
It's a Second Amendment or something.
No,
and then
First Amendment, not the Second.
No, I've heard Second Amendment.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I guess you should take a shot at the flag. I'm not sure what that means. The other one is no, he's disrespecting the troops.
Well, this is the one that I heard consistently, is that all of a sudden the national anthem is equated with the troops. That's bullshit. That's not true.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah, but I hear that everywhere now. Good catch on that.
So now I'm not absolutely sure what is going to come of this, except one thing and one thing only. The national anthem is going to be scrapped because it's become a center of attention. And The Intercept wrote a nice article on it. You can look it up, one of their guys, pointing out that the third stanza, the third part of this national anthem nobody ever plays or sings, is about killing slaves.
Oh, okay. Right.
It's about killing slaves.
Yeah.
Because it's about the War of 1812, and a lot of the slaves
That's bad optics
went over to the Canadian side. And it was like they were the ones that were there. You got these crappy, our slaves are now shooting at us from the Canadian side of the war, the British Canadian side.
Yeah.
And so it was about that, about killing them, and then not only killing them, but mocking them. So once this kind of it becomes a meme, or people start bringing this up, and they will, even though when something comes out in The Intercept that's kind of new, the mainstream media refuses. They hate this operation, like you do.
Yeah.
They sit on it for a real long time. Then they'll bring it up as though they just dreamed this idea up themselves. I've actually had.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of journalists who maybe sometimes write a little ahead of the game will find this happening to them. This happens to me on occasion.
Before you go into that, let's just talk about this for a second. So I'm all for changing the national anthem.
Okay.
I have no problem with it whatsoever. There's no reason that it just has to be the same tired ass song. In fact, I'm calling on Jay-Z and Beyonce to make the new national anthem.
Right. Well,
let's
that's never going to happen.
Let's hip that shit up, man. This is a good idea.
It's never going to happen. What's going to happen is going to be America the Beautiful. And they've been slipping America the Beautiful in on us as a side light.
Right.
For example, they'll have the national anthem at the beginning of some sporting event. And by the way, you know my feelings on playing the national anthem and dragging out the flag on a sporting event, a commercial sporting event. I don't like it.
Right, no, you
but
don't.
they do it anyway.
No.
So everyone stands up. They play the national anthem as though this baseball game is some sort of military exercise.
Right.
But okay. I'll do it. I'll stand and put my hand on my heart, not knowing that.
Yeah.
And then they now, in some baseball games, especially the ones they do on television, they'll sing America the Beautiful on the seventh inning stretch when they're supposed to sing Take Me Out to the Ballpark.
That is un-American what they're doing right there.
The whole thing is un-American, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, so they've been bringing out America the Beautiful every so often. America the Beautiful. It's
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's a better song by far.
I agree. It's easier to sing.
And there's a third song, what's the other one? There's another one that's America. There's another.
Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
No, they're not going to put a rock tune in.
Well, especially not since it's anti-war, anti-Vietnam. No, that may not be a good idea.
But there was another one. There's a third song. I'll think of the name of it later. That is a possibility. But America the Beautiful looks like it's being lined up to become the next national anthem. And I think it will be. I think they're sick of this old one. Nobody can sing it. It's not a good song. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's based on a British drinking song. And
America the Beautiful?
No, the national anthem. Star Spangled Banner.
Really?
Let's drink, let's drink, something like that. And I could be wrong, but that's my recollection. But whatever is the prediction stands. Boom, America the Beautiful coming in probably before the
I like
end
it. No, I like it.
Could happen soon, could take 10 years, but its national anthem is dead.
Even though Jay-Z and Beyonce probably will not be given the opportunity to write the national anthem, I did want to speak briefly about the MTV Video Music Awards.
Oh, yes, right. The satanic Video Music Awards.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. That first of all,
ratings were down.
Tremendously down, and it's no surprise. What a shit show. At first, I need to say something that irks me. When I was working at MTV, when I was a kid, there was the Video Music Awards, and I came in after the first couple of years. And on the set, I remember we were promoting it. It must have been the '88 Video Music Awards, and we would say, "Hey, it's the VMAs," and because everywhere, in scripts, everything, instead of writing Video Music Awards, you put VMA. And we were all saying, VMAs, great, the VMAs. We had to go back and retape 2 full days worth of segments because some a-hole at the office decided, no, our brand is Video Music Awards. You must say it in its entirety. You cannot just say VMAs. Then now, of course, it's just VMAs everywhere. I know, it makes me mad, especially those 2 social media douchebags who were hosting it. I don't know what that was all about. What happened to Eddie Murphy hosting and, and Axl Rose punches, someone in the mouth from another band? I mean, that's the Video Music Awards, VMAs.
Who were I didn't see any of it. So the hosts were like just a couple of lame bloggers?
Yeah, they were like YouTube guys or something, and I guess they were a comedy team, and they were behind a desk, and they're tweeting and making jokes about tweeting. It was awkward to watch.
They were making jokes about tweeting.
Yeah, the whole thing. If they took Rihanna, who started the show off, and they split up her performances throughout the entire show. So they didn't even end with a great performance, with, stay tuned because Madonna's performing. Even Rihanna, I'd stay around for that. No, but they interspersed her. And there was only one satanic bit. I believe it was with Britney Spears. And and almost no one was singing either. That was kind of irksome. Like Rihanna was singing, but no one, certainly not Britney Spears. But she doesn't have to because she looks so cute. But the end, it was an upside down cross, and they did a big total shot and everything. So, but it was not. It was a horrible, horrible show. Ratings down 34%, despite the fact that they broadcasted on VH1 and BET and some other cable outfit, including MTV. It was horribly produced. It was just shit. And it ended with like an award. You never end with an award. You always end with a great performance.
Right, you don't end with an award.
Of course
you end
not.
with an award only on the Academy Awards because they're always running short.
Yeah.
They can't do the performance at the end.
It was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Yeah.
Well, I was expecting an entertaining report, not some horrible gripe.
Well, I couldn't even pull a clip. Kanye spoke for 20 minutes. Are you kidding me?
And they let that guy on the stage at all.
Exactly.
I got the mic. I'm going to keep it.
Well, you were talking about Scandinavia earlier, and it was an interesting report that crossed my desk. As Scandinavia has declared animals are now sentient beings and not just property.
Do they get the vote?
Well, if you look up the definition of a sentient being is a being that, by virtue of its characteristics, has the capability of experiencing suffering, both at physical and psychological levels, regardless of the species to which it belongs. Sentient animals are beings that have a physical and psychological sensibility, which allows them, in the same way as humans, to experience pain and pleasure. And it is certain that they all naturally seek by all means available to them to avoid painful experiences. And in the dictionary, it pretty much says if you can think and act upon what you're thinking about, then you are a sentient being, which is kind of saying you're equal to humans. Pretty close.
I don't think so.
Well, what is now going to happen in Scandinavia is any type of animal abuse will become a very serious offense.
It should be.
Well, it depends on what you call animal abuse. I mean, I see, this is a...
Oh, you mean, I think where you're going there. So in other words, I heard my neighbors say bad dog.
Yes.
Bad dog.
Yes.
You're a bad dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see that being, you can't say that to your dog.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen.
No, that wouldn't be good.
I got to tell you, in this building, now we're an interesting building. It's an older building in Austin. We're smoke-free, but pet-friendly. And that's the George Carlin setup. I just don't have the punchline. So we're smoke-free and pet-friendly. But I do not understand why people, these are just apartments. You got your dog in the apartment all day. I mean, every day I go to the elevator, there's piss there from the dog. It just couldn't wait anymore, just lets it go. And of course, people don't clean it up.
You got piss in your elevators?
No, in front of the elevator. Yeah, it's disgusting. And I know who, too. I just haven't seen
turn her in.
Him, the guy. But that's not the turn him in. I'm reporting you to the authorities. I know the police chief of Austin. Art will take care of you. Art Acevedo will take care of you, my friend. Yes, he will. I just, the dog is controlling you. If you have to go help the dog poop, you have to pick it up with a piece of plastic. I've had many.
Hater now? What is this? What is this rant?
I'm not a dog hater. I've had many dogs. I've had all kinds of pets. I just don't understand if you're living. Everyone seems to have a dog. Why? It must be just transference of love.
Lonely lives.
Yeah, lonely. That's what it must be. But it's sad. All of it's sad for these animals. So I'm not a hater. It's just like these dogs are locked up all day. People come home and they poop now. I'll clean it up.
I agree. They shouldn't just, you shouldn't. No, it's not right.
Yeah, it's not.
I always wonder about people who have dogs in Manhattan. You see them walking around.
It's the same thing.
Dog.
Austin, Manhattan. What difference does it make at this point?
Well, not if you're living in the skyscraper.
The skyscraper. Yeah. It's so luxurious here. Woo! Right on.
Well, you have a wood-burning stove in that thing, and you make it sound like a shack.
Well, it leaks. I got water leaking in. I got all kinds of stuff happening here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about all the airplane incidents.
Okay. You mean like turbulence stuff?
No. Well, that too. I only have like 3 aspects of this. I got the shutdown, which I thought you might find suspicious. And we can play that clip. This is the FAA power outage.
And back here at home, meanwhile, and to a power outage, forcing ground stops at 2 busy airports in Florida. Flights in the air when the radar suddenly went down. Here's ABC's David Curley.
A complete ground stop at Miami's airport, Fort Lauderdale, too, after this startling radio call from controllers to pilots.
Okay, everybody on this frequency, use extreme caution. We've lost all communication. We've lost all radars. We cannot see you.
The controller, lining up jets for landing, in essence, blinded. That left jetliners with nowhere to land, so many started circling. More than a dozen flights diverted to other airports. The problem? A power outage took out the critical radar and some communication systems.
I think we still have this vulnerability out there where we have these facilities that have these redundant systems and backup power supplies that seem to trip and they don't seem to work.
The FAA says another center took over the airspace. The jets in the area, which could see each other on their controls, all landed safely. It took 90 minutes to reboot the systems, even though the power outage only lasted 5 minutes. More than 100 flights affected with delays of an hour or so and raising new questions about power systems. David?
Seems like a setup for cyber hardening.
Something.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted you to comment on that.
Well, the report already said it. There's not just one radar, certainly not in that area. You have you're handed off from multiple radar stations, and it's not like their coverage area stops. It's like, okay, I'm handing you off to Florida now. What airport was it again? I missed that in the beginning.
Miami.
Okay, that's a very busy airport. So for tower and ground, or tower certainly, and approach, I should say, it's they are blinded. This is true, but planes are not going to crash in the air because they have TCAS, which is anti-collision warning system. Everyone can see each other's squawk, their radar code, and if they're using ADS-B, which most of them are, they can get a lot of information on their systems. So they're not going to crash into each other. But without a doubt, it makes it more complicated for sequencing planes in for landing. It will take a lot longer because you can't just stack them up, boom, 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 boom.
I thought the most interesting part of the report was a little subtle mention of they have a backup system that gets tripped and doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, that is the core problem right there. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I found that very strange. Very strange report. But especially about the backup. You pay big money for this stuff. To get a backup system like that, you need to pay a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. The system should work. Yeah,
you paid money. It doesn't work. Do you get your money back? What's the deal? All right. The second part of this is I thought another kind of a discrepant story, but they trying to message us something. I'm not sure what, but this is United drunk pilots.
From Scotland tonight, 2 United airline pilots arrested on suspicion of being intoxicated before takeoff. They appeared before a judge in Glasgow today. The pilots, who are American, were taken into custody before their flight took off for Newark on Saturday with 141 people on board. ABC's David Curley with new details on who they are and what happens to them next.
The 2 United pilots tonight are out on bail in Scotland, facing charges of showing up for a flight over the legal limit for alcohol. They were arrested after arriving for the 9 a.m. Saturday flight from Glasgow to Newark with 141 passengers. The flight delayed for 10 hours.
Okay. I have thoughts. What's your second clip?
Well, play the second clip.
United says the men have been removed from service and their flying duties. It was just a month ago at the same airport that 2 pilots preparing to fly to Canada were also arrested for being over the legal limit.
Studies have shown that pilots who binge drink, get really drunk, can have a hangover effect that can last up to 14, 16 hours after they've stopped drinking.
Pilots are held to a stricter standard, just 0.04 blood alcohol level. And the FAA says there must be 8 hours between the last drink, the bottle, and the throttle. A pilot is arrested for being over the legal limit about once a month. While the FAA does administer random tests, the question arises, how many pilots slip through and take the controls?
Wow.
Tom?
I am really high.
You know, this seemed like a propaganda piece of some sort.
Well, there was a third United story, which I did not clip. This was yet another in-air turbulence. And they diverted to they were on their way. They didn't divert, but they're on their way to Heathrow from Houston or Dallas, and they landed in Ireland. And I think 12 people were pretty badly injured. So it was all United stories.
Well, there was a slew of Southwest stories like last week, and the Southwest stories included one where the Southwest plane engine just blew up.
Oh yeah, did you see the pictures of that? Those fuckers were lucky.
Yeah, that blew up.
I mean, that could have ripped the wing off.
Company. Southwest has never lost a person.
That thing could have ripped the wing off. It could have really punctured the fuselage.
And then there was the other one where the Southwest plane is just sitting there, and some drug-crazed maniac jumped into one of the cars on the tarmac and rammed the plane.
Well, here's what I think it is. It's a ramp up, of course, to an entertainment product. Are you ready?
Okay.
Sully. Tom Hanks in Sully.
I was thinking about Sully, but and Sully, because his name's Sullivan, it associates immediately with an Irish drunk.
It's Sullenberg, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sullenberg. Well, it reminds me, Sully is a short name for Sullivan, usually, and you think alcohol immediately.
Yeah. Irish booze. Yeah, gotcha.
So, I think there may be this Sully movie, I thought the same thing. But then I still haven't been able to rationalize why we're having all these panics at the airport, which takes me to my third set of clips.
Oh, yeah. This happened like the day I left. That evening was the first big panic at JFK because they thought there was a shooting, and all you slaves line up and don't carry your bag and shut up and don't film it. And this has happened twice now at JFK.
And now this is at LAX. This is the guy Zorro. And in fact, it turns out that they can't find any reason for all this panic, but plays Zorro 1.
Let's turn now to the chaos at the Los Angeles airport. Word of shots fired triggering panic and mass evacuation. Thousands of people running for their lives, some out through security and right onto the tarmac. Police officers rushing in with their guns drawn as other passengers duck and take cover. ABC's Kana Whitworth is at LAX tonight with what brought that giant airport to a virtual standstill.
Sunday night at LAX, police first responding to reports of a man dressed in black, wearing a mask and carrying a sword. Officers quickly surround the man, ordering him to the ground. But at the next terminal, reports of gunfire.
Also shooting in progress, LAX.
unknown number of shots. Police with guns drawn, searching the airport while hundreds of passengers raced outside, some past security checkpoints. Panic spreading quickly through social media. A ground stop ordered for all flights.
All of a sudden, there was a flood of people saying there's a shooter.
ABC's Matt Gutman was at the airport.
Everywhere, people having to hoof it to try to get where they're going, even out of this airport. Pretty chaotic here and pretty scary here.
Actor Josh Gad there as well with his family, tweeting, "Got my kids," and ran for dear life. ABC security consultant Steve Gomez says you can't take any chances.
You either run, hide, or you fight. So if you can't run away because you're in an area where you're just closed off, then you have to hide somewhere.
In the end, it was a false alarm. The street performer in the Zorro costume released. He later spoke with ABC affiliate KABC, concealing his identity.
I get the police all around me. I'm not even thinking about what I was wearing.
It's just the latest panic triggered by a false alarm. 2 weeks ago at JFK Airport, passengers ran to the streets after hearing loud bangs that many mistook for gunshots.
Zorro.
I'm finding this to be
odd,
foreboding of some sort.
Well, there's another thought I have. We also, 9/11 is also right around the corner, so we might as well get people all jacked up, don't you think?
Maybe, but I just don't think just jacking them up for no good reason is really a good use of the resources of the agencies. Let's play second half of this clip. I forgot what it was.
Zorro 2, authorities.
And Kana joins us now from LAX. Kana, there were actually a few people who were hurt in the chaos?
Yeah, Tom, 3 people were taken to the hospital with minor injuries after they were trampled trying to escape. And tonight, police still don't know what those noises were that prompted that initial 911 call. And authorities saying this level of panic just goes to show how on edge travelers are right now. Tom?
It's a good point. Okay, Kana, thank you.
There's got to be more to this. I agree. Something's up.
Yeah, something's up.
I don't.
Because I always listen to authorities.
Oh, they have authority.
But yeah, something's up. We have a bunch of crazy little plane accidents, but that aren't killing anybody.
All right.
And then we have the number of these panics at the airport where people are just running around like maniacs after we have been set up already to see the Turkish facility get attacked, blowed up, and all this other stuff. So we got everybody on edge. I don't know what the point of it is, but there's something. These are minor stories. They could not, if they weren't covered, it wouldn't be a big deal. Oh, Zorro, a guy dressed in the Zorro costume panics a bunch of people in the LAX and somebody runs around.
Right.
I mean, it's not really a story you have to cover. If you didn't cover it, nobody would care.
Just before we get into donations, and we are late, affiliates, we are running a little late, so we'll be shorter in the second. It's really the third of show. You said something really interesting on the Dvorak Horowitz podcast, which I wanted you to repeat. Are you doing some project where you write down the decades that you lived or something? Are you writing something?
Well, no. Well, I'm always writing something, but I'm not writing it.
Well, Andrew asked you a question have you finished that last chapter? And it was about the past 3 decades, or really that had all.
No, he's talking about the series of articles I wrote for PC Magazine. Where it's my 30 years at PC Magazine, and then I write about how I got there. Then I write about the first 10 years, then the second 10 years, and then the current era from 2006 to 2016.
And you said when the party ended, and we had these series of events that brought us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
Vaguely, yeah.
Well, what were they?
The party ended. You mean the series of events?
Yeah, the big events. Yeah,
internet. That's what killed everything.
No, you had something. It was this, and then that, and then 9/11. It was boom, 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 boom. That's what you had.
This was this is what screwed the economy up. We had
it was about the economy.
The .com crash combined with Y2K and the fiasco that became.
That was great.
And that killed everybody. And then just as we were recovering from the .com crash and the waste of money that was created by Y2K, we had 9/11. Bang, 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 the big 3 events took the whole business into the toilet, and it's never really come out of it.
And just for people growing up, who were born in 1990, they really haven't seen any good times. It's really all been kaboom, 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 kaboom.
Right, and just as we're trying to get out of it, bang, you have the real estate crash in 2008. So people, I agree, and I think it's kind of a shame, but most people that are, I think, a good portion of Americans, especially about 1990, you're right, even anybody after that, for sure, you can't have the right attitude about the country because it's not, and that's why I think Trump comes along as an old timer for all practical purposes, like they say, 70. Mm-hmm. He remembers the day when things were where people saw things differently, and so does Hillary does too, to an extreme. But she's a globalist, so it doesn't really matter to her. She doesn't care. She thinks things are going fine. But you have this situation where people have just seen the downside of everything. It's like all the jobs are gone. There's no manufacturing. I remember when I was writing for one newspaper, and I was in. I remember this was years ago. I was in Port Townsend, and there was just all these kids on the street during the summertime, and they were just hanging out playing guitars, and there's like a bunch of beatniks. And I don't know how I got into a conversation.
Beatniks.
Yeah, beatniks. It's more like beatniks than hippies.
Beatniks.
Yeah, man, where's the bongos? And so I got into conversation with this group, and I was talking about, you guys like get a job. I didn't say get a job. I said, why don't we see more kids working?
Yeah.
And he says, where? He says, where am I supposed to work? There's no place to work. I'm going to be a clerk at some place, maybe, but that job's already taken. There's nothing to do. And this was like in the late 90s and before the real crashes began. And I thought to myself, when I was a kid, I mean, I could go to Oakland. There was like 25 factories there. You can get jobs doing this and that. You could get work at the assembly plants. You could do. It was very easy to get work. I didn't go through high school or college without a solid summertime job when I was off school, and often union jobs that paid very well. These kids don't even know what I'm talking about.
Now, you know what the good news is? They have Pokemon Go.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank, that's for sure.
And we got to blow through it today as fast as we can, because otherwise we'll be here until Sunday.
Mark Pugner, first guy on the list.
Hey, Mark Pugner. There's a lot of him. Yeah. There's a lot of him around.
Yeah, he's coming with the. What does it say? I can't read it. It's in gray.
There's nothing in the gray. That means
158.83, something like that.
155. 155.83.
Yeah. On this machine, the gray might as well be black.
Mm-hmm.
Lon Baker, parts unknown, $100. Henry Clays in Rancho Palo Verde is $100. Sir Matthew Helly, who's on the Twitters a lot, he's in Gatineau, Quebec, 8109.
Mm-hmm.
He says, being something. Why don't you read that while I go on?
He says, been boning since May, but the exquisite reality of the latest episodes forced me to donate yet again. I've done the math right. This donation brings me to a second knighthood. That's a baronet. Right.
And he is going to be listed as such.
Yes. He thinks he's a baron, but no, he's a baronet.
No, baronet.
Okay, so we'll take care of that. Baronet. It's baronet.
Sean Regalado in Saranac Lake, New York. 8050. Boob.
8090.
Boob. 8090. Boob. 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 This week's
boob.
And you want me to hurry up. This week's boob was Warren Buffett.
Yes, in the newsletter.
And Heiko Santima?
Hilco Santama in Houten in the Netherlands.
Oh, Hilco Santama in Houten. Boob. Robert Rohit Matthew in Houston.
And he has a douchebag call out. He says, I want to call out my Pakistani friend Mohammed as a douchebag. Since he's listening to the show on his long commutes. Thanks for all you do. Your native ads are fantastic. Thank you. We work very hard on them.
Yeah, I guess they are native Eds in some way. Sir Matt, the Baron of Melbourne, a boob, Australia. Mark, what is it?
Waterloo. Sir Crash EMT.
Ah, right. Sir Crash. He's our Sir Crash guy.
Watchung, New Jersey.
Watchung, New Jersey, 8008. Sherry in Seaholm, Victoria, 75. Rohan Jacob, 6969 in New Hyde Park, New York. Dwight Chick, 6789 in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Craig Knowsley in Cumberland, BC, 670, what is that? 67.
67, yep.
Okay, Andrew Carlson in St. Paul, Minnesota, 66. Anonymous in Knoxville, Tennessee, double nickels on the dime. Nakara Grief.
Yeah.
In God knows where.
Kaiserslautern. Kaiserslautern.
Somewhere.
It's $52 because I'm turning 52 Saturday.
Oh, you got yourself on the birthday list?
Well, I can put myself there. Oh, yes, I am on the birthday list. Yes. Yeah. Eric put me there. That's nice. Yeah, I'll be 52 on Saturday.
We could have made a big deal out of this.
You can still make a big deal out of it. And I told you this after the past two shows. I'm turning 52. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought you were just reluctant. You were reluctant.
I'm reluctant.
You were reluctant.
I'm reluctant. No, I'm turning. We can still make a big deal out of it.
No, it's easier. It was in the newsletter. I could have promoted it.
We have a newsletter on Saturday. And a show on Sunday.
Oh, okay. You're right. And I can save it. I can save this. I can save this gaffe.
Yes,
right,
you can totally.
Yeah, it's going to be this Saturday's going to be celebration, your birthday celebration in the newsletter. $52 is cheap. Everyone can afford it. Thanks, Nicara. Anthony Lanciano in Temperance, Michigan, $50.01. Now we got everyone's $50. This is going to be quick. $50 a name and place, location. Anonymous in Omaha. Shane Rozdilski in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Brendan Thomas, Foxborough, Massachusetts, and he says happy birthday to Adam.
Ooh.
As well as his twin brother. We have him listed on the list.
Nice.
Dean Kostenko in and we'll take you off the birthday list because you'll be given the birthday call out on Sunday.
You got it.
Okay. Dean Kostenko in Jacksonville, Arkansas, 50. Dennis Brown, Rhinelander, Wisconsin. And oops, that's it. Bing, bang, boom, we're done.
I have two I want to pick out to prove that we do read your notes. Jamie Graham in Easton, Connecticut, a $20 donor, says, my stepsister was hit by a car 30 miles per hour standing next to her car waiting to get in. Ouch. She's in ICU with a skull fracture. We desperately need karma for the swelling and pain to subside. Some catch the asshole karma would be helpful. Considered the asshole slowed down after the hit her and sped off, leaving her behind.
That's terrible.
Yes. And Anthony Lanciano, who gave us $50.01, says, can I please get an F cancer from my best friend's dad? Can I get an F cancer from my best friend's dad? So we're going to take care of that. And thank you, everybody, for donating, and everyone under the $50 amount, which of course is usually for reasons of anonymity. But we highly appreciate you supporting the program. And of course, another show coming up on Sunday, the day after my birthday.
Dvorak.org/NA. Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And today, Griffin Vacheron says happy birthday to Brendan Dunkirk Thomas. Don Napier says happy birthday with smoking hot MILF girlfriend Kathy. She'll be celebrating on Sunday on the 4th. Don Napier himself celebrates today. Brendan Thomas says happy birthday to his brother Patrick, celebrating on my birthday, September 3rd. Brendan Thomas says also happy birthday to Griffin V, celebrating on September 11th. Yes, happy birthday to all the Virgos from the best podcast in the universe. And we have a title change for Sir Matthew Helly, who becomes a baronet today. And that will be reflected on the peerage map, itm.im/peerage. You can also find all those resources at gitmolist.org, apparently. So this is all very good. And we have 3 knightings to take care of today. Oh, there's my blade. Do you have yours?
Yeah, here it comes.
Yeah. Nice. All right, up on the podium here, next to the lectern, I need Stephen Carr, John Henry, and Joseph Castine, if y'all wouldn't mind stepping on up. Good to have you guys here. Thank you very much for supporting the best podcast in the universe in the amount of $1,000 or more, as you can tell. And that earns you a coveted spot at the No Agenda Roundtable for all of our knights and dames. And I hereby pronounceate thee Sir Scatter Gather Particle Buffer, Sir John of the Zika, and Sir Raleigh Wordsmith. Gentlemen, for you, we have Hookers and Blow, Red Poison, Chardonnay. We've got poutine and rye whiskey, crickets and cream, cheap wine and chili dogs, Hookers and Molly, librarians and Jaeger bombs, mutton and meat, and, well, some ginger ale and gerbils if you so prefer. The 3 of you can head over to noagendanation.com/rings and give Eric information. And please tweet it out. Tweet out a picture. We love seeing that. It's always nice. And wear it with pride, as you can hit people in the mouth with it. And, people should take a look at those rings. We don't really talk about them, but they're cool.
Yes, they're quite cool.
Yeah. So we want to retweet them so people can enjoy the coolness. After my harrowing tale of the crazy millennial who was all angry at me because I was tall, and
you tallest.
My microaggression and all that. Did you see this video of this girl in the Lyft car?
No. Oh, no. Yes. I didn't. I thought it was just audio, but I heard the audio where she's just berating this guy and she's going to turn him in. And she had that voice. She had that
I think we need
cheerleader voice that we hate.
I think we need to share this, at least some of it, with the audience. I've cut this down. So this girl who apparently, I'm sorry?
I'm glad you did that because it is very funny.
Yeah, so I had to cut most of the driver out. So it's a Lyft, which is like an Uber, only you actually share the ride off and there's another passenger in the front. And this woman who I think she actually has she has a couple of blogs or something. It may be affiliated. She may have she may be getting paid for doing something like this, doing her blogs, and it's like feminism, social justice warrior stuff. So she gets in this Lyft in the back, and the guy has one of those Hawaiian bobble dolls, and it's the one with
bobblehead. Yes, the doll that's got shakes.
Yeah, and she's wearing a grass skirt, of course, and holding a guitar. We've all seen it a million times.
It's a ukulele. Let's be correct there.
It is a ukulele. You're right. So we all know exactly what it is.
Exactly.
And so she gets in the car, and she starts laying into this guy about how not only is this, it's wrong because
racist.
It's yes, because he picked it up at Goodwill and liked it doesn't give him the right to display it because he's not from, as you'll hear her say, the continent of Hawaii. This is a great clip.
That's good.
And then, of course, she goes on to explain, how white men, even though the guy says he's Asian. White men are the problem. They don't give a crap. And it's really insulting her, deeply offending her. And it's worth listening to this outrageous crap because it is exactly the same thing that I witnessed here on the streets of Austin, even the way it finishes. And that was the perfect setup. Here we go.
You thought that was adorable. You didn't think about the pillaging of the continent of Hawaii.
And yes. She talks like that. The continent of Hawaii. That's
with a lot of vocals.
I like the pillaging of the continent of Hawaii.
I didn't even know there was pillaging.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, so you won't get rid of the doll then, because that was really cute thing that you found at Goodwill.
No, I'm not I'll get rid of it because of that. I just don't realize.
I'm sorry. This may not be my edited version because that makes no sense. I cut all of that stuff out. Crap.
Oh.
Well, let's just listen to it. I don't think
So obviously, like, you as like a white male, you were like the least like.
But now you're judging me. You're assuming where I'm from.
No, I'm not. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying like that perhaps like you might be the person who is least hurt in this situation. I'm a passenger in your car. Like, that doll is offensive to me, but you don't want to take it down because you like found it at Goodwill and it was a good find. Yeah, no, I do want you to because it's actually deeply offensive. No, I do want you to take it down.
She's saying you have to take it down. It's offensive.
Deeply offensive.
Deeply offensive, yes.
I'm going to shoot worse and give you
like
1 star.
Whatever you like. I'm not trying to offend you. If you want to drop me off over here or at the next exit, I can't do that.
Okay,
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Can I redeem myself Sunday?
We definitely have to listen to this thing because it's great. So we'll tease it for the next show because we're running out of time anyway.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I don't know what happened. I edited it all this morning, and who knows?
Yeah, you probably just saved the wrong file. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I will edit this, and we'll have it. It is unbelievable. Right?
It's very funny.
Well, it's funny, but it's also just incredibly sad.
Well, yeah, because you had to experience it firsthand. I guess that's one of the reasons that you're just not cracking up.
No, I cracked up the first time I saw it. Saw it.
Yeah, take it down. It's deeply offensive, but you're white, so you don't care. You got white privilege. You think everything's okay, and you don't know because you just hate people.
That's exactly it. Hey, did you see the story about a lightning strike killing more than 300 wild reindeer in Norway?
It sounds like bullcrap.
Thank you. I mean, and you look at them; they're not fried. They're not crusty. And I don't, lightning hits usually one person. Doesn't usually hit or hit a whole bunch of like 300 reindeer. I'm thinking directed energy weapon or something. Some testing. It's got to be something like that. As a no agenda service, we, of course, you already know that you should not go to France if you plan on wearing a headscarf or certainly not a burkini or even a burqa in certain places. The reverse is interesting. Now we have India's tourism minister sent out a release and said, you really should not wear skirts when you come to visit India, and you should also wear a scarf. And this has caused, for some reason, some internal strife in India. And here's a report.
The controversy is that you have said that tourists should not be wearing mini skirts when they come to India. As someone who is ready to promote tourism, do you think you should set such a statement?
I take your words. You said deciding. This is an advisory. This is a suggestion.
Is this some kind of moral policing?
Well, you can call it as a moral policing. If I am in this country and worldwide advisories are being issued by the ministries, it is a suggestion to our guests.
Suggestion, just a suggestion.
Policing, if I am in this country and worldwide advisories are being issued by the ministries, it is a suggestion to our guests that if you follow this, it will help us. Please note there is a difference between a directive and advisory. That if you visit a holy place, please take care that if you go to Gurdwara, you may have to cover your head. That is all.
It's an advisory. Because I don't know, you might get beat up.
You might get raped if you're a
something
woman.
bad might happen. Yeah. And what is it with the Polish in Europe? Why are they always the ones that get beaten up, killed, invaded? What is that?
I don't know.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, what's happening now?
Well, in London. This is from London.
That's because, the London situation, the Poles have been the ones who took all the jobs, the babysitting, nanny jobs, and the helper jobs, and all these cheap jobs because they can actually make a commute from Poland on the high-speed rail once a week or daily in some cases. They're just on the train all the time. And so it's filled with a lot of Polish who I guess the Brits don't like them.
The brother of a Polish man who was battered to death outside a takeaway claimed yesterday he was attacked by a dozen teenagers because they heard him speaking in his mother tongue. This is Arek Joshvik, who died of head injuries after he and two Polish friends were beaten unconscious in what police believe may be a hate crime. His brother, Radek, said the police have told us he was attacked because they heard him and his friends speaking the Polish language. I mean, have we just completely gone barking mad? It really is. It's somebody said after the attack, police asked for a statement. I said, you know them, everybody complained to you, and you don't respond. This is this gang of kids, gangs of kids, I tell you. Can't be sort of far away from us all being armed on the streets, can it? Really?
Yes, I really like Texas. Come on down. We got no problems with gangs in the streets. Poor Poles. They've been in Britain for 40 years, the Poles have.
Yeah.
And now they're getting blamed. Why do they always get blamed? I don't understand it.
Because I don't have no idea. This I do not know. All I know is there's a really good Polish deli in San Francisco I frequent.
Now, you asked me to put in the show notes something about the alt-right. Is there something you wanted to bring up about that?
I have a little thing to read about them that we can discuss, but it's something we could put off till Sunday because I'd rather get these clips out of the way. And I got two of them left.
All right. You're on deck to close the show.
First of all, let's start with let's start with this one then. This is the Israel. If we went back in time, which we're not going to do again.
Oh, okay.
We would talk about how the early theories about ISIL, ISIS, Daesh were that it was started by the Mossad, and the CIA.
Yes,
they got the thing going. And it was for a lot of various reasons. A lot of them not explicable and may have lost control of the organization. Don't know. But we did notice one thing, that they're always, they want to kill a bunch of people and they're beheading and they're doing all this stuff. And there's a lot of front organizations that are producing bull crap for them. And they've never said anything, Israel must go.
Right.
They've never said, death to the Jews.
No, it's very odd that we have not seen any of that.
Yes, we have not seen any of that. We still hear it occasionally from Iran, and we hear it still at the mosques, at least, the mosques that are coming out of Saudi Arabia. They still have the same propaganda. We hear it from the Palestinians, but we have not heard it from these guys.
No.
So that led us to believe that something's screwy about that. Well, now it gets even more complicated when one of the big think tanks in Israel decides to write a report saying, hey, let's don't really, these Daesh guys are actually somewhat useful to us. We don't really want to destroy them. I think aiming largely at Trump. And let's play this clip.
Now, there's no need for the West to destroy Islamic State. At least that's according to an Israeli think tank. The director of the Bisa Center, which does work for the Israeli government and also NATO, claims that the Islamist terrorists can serve a strategic purpose for Western interests in the region. Professor Ephraim Inbar says ISIL could play a role in undermining Iran, Hezbollah, Syria and Russia. The think tank's director also claims that the continued existence of the terrorist group helps, quote, bad guys to kill bad guys, and that the West should allow ISIL to exist despite its brutality. Well, my colleague Yunan O'Neill talked to Professor Inbar about his controversial proposal.
Stability is something that you want if it serves your purposes. The main source for instability and the main danger to peace in the Middle East is Iran. The worst country that is committed to genocidal goal has to be stopped. And ISIS is performing this function. ISIS is fighting Iran in proxies.
But you bring it to Iran. Iran is not beheading and raping 8 and 9-year-old girls, is it? This is what ISIL is doing now in the here and now. This is the reality on the ground. There are people getting displaced, people getting killed, people getting raped. This is the aspect that we have.
I suggest to you to be more careful in assessing the human rights policy of Iran.
Why does the guy who sounds like a Nazi say that? I suggest you be more careful with assessing the human rights, yes? Now take a shower.
People getting killed, people getting raped. This is the aspect that we have.
I suggest to you to be more careful in assessing the human rights policy of Iran. Iran is on the list of the United States state supporting terror. Iran is causing trouble in the Saudi peninsula. They are supporting a brutal regime of Assad.
Okay. So what I extrapolate from this is, as we already know, ISIS is pretty much the Turks and the Saudis, and it would be kind of good for them to beat back Iraq, Iran, and the Russians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It'd be good for our interests or somebody's interests.
Yeah, well, yeah. Everybody's
So this
interest.
kind of report, this is not the kind of report you make public. You may think this, you may make the report, you might do the report, but you don't come out and publicly bring this report out, even if that's what you believe.
And where did this air?
RT.
Oh, okay.
Of course, you're not going to get this sort of news.
That's why it's there. Yeah, that's why it's out there, of course.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the report on Democracy Now!, even though I may have just missed that. And my last little clip here is is another report. I think this is another RT. I did a lot of RT this week. And this was... I thought was good. It was kind of interesting, but I think we've known this since the big scandal over Facebook's robots, making getting Megan Kelly, Megan this, Megan that.
Let's see, Meg Whitman, Meg Ryan,
a lot of Megs.
Yeah, she's the Chief Technology Officer of our country. Megan Ryan Kelly.
So Megan Kelly is supposedly fired from Fox News. I don't have any. There's our clips available. I just explain it. And it turned out that since Facebook had its robots replace humans insofar as trending is concerned, they came with this bogus story, which was made up. Somebody put it and slipped into the system. Nobody knows. Some people are theorizing that Megan Kelly is going to be fired.
Oh.
And this is just a cover-up of the story because the timing was wrong, and somehow the Facebook people got a hold of it, and the robot stupidly published it.
Oh, are you in on this?
I don't know anything about it, and I don't think she is getting fired because I did notice that Shannon Bream took her place last night. Now, Megan Kelly, I've never been a huge fan of hers, and she has a kind of a harsh look for a beauty. Yeah. She's a beautiful woman, but
this is Tina's complaint as well. She said, "Why?" She cut her hair. She said, "There's no femininity left, none."
I actually like her new hairdo, but she is kind of. She's more like a dominatrix than she is like some, bathing beauty from a Miss America contest. But she's beautiful technically in every way.
It's high marks on the technical scale.
Yeah, very high marks. She's dynamite looking.
What would you give her? What would you give her on this 1 to 10?
I'd give her a 9.5 easy.
Whoa. All right.
But she has, I think she handles her show well. She's a little snide. She's got, I don't think she has a great sense of humor. She's got a good sense of humor. She reads well.
She's good. She's a pro. She's a
super pro, and she interacts well. Shannon Bream, on the other hand, who doesn't hold a candle to Kelly insofar as her presence is concerned, is really a gorgeous girl. She's a beautiful blonde, classic. All these women are older than you think, by the way, all of them. I think Bream is in her 40s.
And they're all lawyers.
And they're all lawyers. They're all very intelligent. And Bream is, I think, prettier than... She may be the prettiest girl on the... And we're talking from a perspective of producers.
Hold on a second. Hold on. What's her full name?
Bream.
What's her first name?
Shannon Bream.
Okay.
Shannon Bream is really a pretty girl. And she does Kelly's show sometimes.
Yes. Now, I've seen her. I agree. But if you and I were running the show, we would change her makeup. I do not like her makeup. I think it makes her look plastic. She should look a little more realistic. She does have natural beauty.
Yes.
Yeah. And that makeup they do at all the news now, they spray it on with an actual spray gun.
Yeah, they get these sprayers.
Yeah, that makes you look inhumane.
Yeah, they should probably take it a different direction. Yeah. Whatever.
I'm just talking as a producer here.
No, I'm saying, yes, I agree with that. But I'm looking at her in terms of, was she prettier or less pretty than Megan? She's, I think, technically prettier in a kind of a Barbie-like way. She's very attractive. And she's more pleasant. She drops down the kind of meanness.
She's more feminine, too. Yeah, she just has more femininity in her look.
Right. And she does takes. She does little visual. She does, her eyebrows go up, and she does all these things, that you can't do if you're all botulism shot up. Botox. So I like her, but she doesn't have the edge. Megan has some sort of a screwy edge to her that really works on television. And it just makes her she's not as soft. Bream is too soft. But I think I think this rumor may actually have some legs because Megan came out with the, I think, Ailes tried to grab me or whatever. She came out against the network, and I don't think that, Ailes is out. But
I know where she's going. It's obvious. She's going to Trump's new television empire when he loses the election.
Yes, that's where she's going. I don't know where she could go if they got rid of her. I mean, she has a good contract. She'd probably get some money just to go nowhere. She can't work local. She's not a local type. She's way too extreme looking. She could go to CNN, but maybe because nobody knows what her politics really are.
Maybe it's time for network. Maybe she's going network big time.
No, she's not network style. I don't see one of the networks being able to deal with her.
All right. What's the clip?
Okay. So this clip, I don't know how I got off on this tangent.
Well, we're talking about girls.
Okay, we're talking about girls.
Yeah, what can I say?
It's a theme thing. I'm talking about girls. Yeah. This is about Hillary. Uh-huh. And this is, if you went to Google Hillary, and I think how I got off the tangent was the kind of the rumors and gossip about the corruption of the media and corruption of Facebook and how the Megyn thing may or may not be true, but they ran it anyway, and now they apologize. But Facebook is in the can for Hillary. Google's in the can for Hillary. I don't have it on the leaner list, but it's a fact.
Oh, you should add that to the leaner list, really.
I'm going to.
Yeah, good.
Now that you mention it.
Good.
But
the leaner report. The leaner report.
The leaner report. Here's Hillary, if you try to find her on Google, about her health problems.
Look what happens when I type Hillary Clinton's health into Google. According to their auto search feature, it's not an issue. Yet look what happens in other search engines. Now, we asked Google why this was, and they told us that their auto search feature is specifically edited to avoid disparaging and offensive content. It wasn't exactly clear what's considered disparaging or offensive about Hillary Clinton's health, though it is interesting to note that Eric Schmidt, one of the former CEOs of Google and a top stockholder in the corporation, is also a prominent supporter of Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Secretary Clinton, welcome back to Google.
It's great to be here, Eric. Thank you. You've grown a little bit since I've been here last. Just a little.
Are you talking about my weight?
When she was Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton was calling out foreign governments for trying to control cyberspace.
They've expunged words, names, and phrases from search engine results. Countries that restrict free access to information risk walling themselves off from the progress of the next century.
But even in the land of the free, details continue to emerge showing that the way information is made accessible on the internet is not random, but intentionally manipulated. Whether it's the news curators who decide what gets trending on Facebook, or big corporations hiring teams of people to edit Wikipedia, the internet isn't a free market of ideas where everything gets an equal shot at going viral.
This is influencing U.S. elections, influencing who's going to run the country. So I think there has to be a little bit more transparency and people realizing and understanding the power that Google, Twitter, Facebook, all these very powerful online entities have in controlling information flow. They might actually have some political leanings that are making their information flow online biased.
If the influential people on the internet are all lining up behind one person and controlling what information we receive, does this mean that democracy has, for the lack of a better term, been hacked?
Yeah. In a way.
Yes.
But no more or less than news or newspapers, or it's to be expected.
Well, it's a consolidated effort by all these people.
Yeah. When I do
well done, it's not working as well as they'd like.
I just tried Donald Trump is this thing with that. So here's what this only works on the suggestions, obviously. So so I just Donald Trump is, that was and I stopped there. Donald Trump is real. Donald Trump is awesome. Donald Trump is going to win. Donald Trump issues statement. Donald Trump is not a conservative. So those are the top ones. Now let's try Hillary Clinton. Israel, is toast, is awesome, and is a robot. Hey, I thought there wasn't supposed to be.
Seems that they got it right.
I thought there wasn't supposed to be any disparaging stuff in there.
Yeah.
Which, of course,
well, maybe a robot's a compliment to other robots.
Maybe it's the truth.
No pulse.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to be disparaging. If it's true, how can it be disparaging? I don't think it is. Oh, nice one. All right, well, you never know. We did have an explosion at SpaceX today. I don't think anyone was hurt, but it is a show day. You never know. It always comes in threes.
Kind of an explosion.
What's that?
Just an explosion?
Yeah, something exploded. I don't know. Apparently no one was hurt.
Rockets.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything on the calendar? Anything? Oh, well, my birthday, of course, coming up. But you'll talk about that in the newsletter on Saturday.
Yeah.
52.
Happy birthday in advance.
Well, you can say
you were 50 last time.
No,
you're 52.
No,
you got 2 years since you were 50.
Yeah.
You made such a stink about it.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm 50.
Yeah. It's all downhill from here, baby.
That's what you said.
Yeah. Just look at you. Coming to you from the skyscraper here in Austin, Tejas, downtown. It's the Crackpot Condo. FEMA Region 6, in case you're looking for us. Remember, we have another show coming up on Sunday. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And until then, in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm watching trucks drive down the freeway from my location, which is propped up a little bit, enough so to see trucks. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday, right here on No Agenda. Adios, mofos!
Donate to No Agenda. They give us shows week after week. Donate to No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
Ground down to a dough kneader and burnt in an oven. His body parts ground down, dough kneader and burnt in an oven. The oldest was 4 children, put through a dough kneader and fed, ground down. The oldest was 4 children, down, under and burnt in, round down. The oldest was 4 children, his own mother, and burnt children, own mother. Put through a dough kneader, own mother. Fed to his own mother, burnt children, put his body parts ground, burnt children, put through to his own mother, put through round down, and put and burnt and children, fed his body children, put through and children, his own mother, and burnt children parts ground down. And then fed to his own.
Wow, I am really high.
What happens in somebody's mind, or how dark their heart must be? The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. Alt-right. The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. Alt-right. This is just so disgusting. The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. This is just so disgusting. The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. This is so disgusting. What happens in somebody's mind, or how dark their heart must be?
So I made a mistake. That happens. It proves I'm human.
Anti-social media. Anti-social media. This election cycle has turned a lot of social media into anti-social media. Anti-social media. Torch-wielding mobs and sharks in a feeding frenzy. Anti-social media. Nasty anonymous comments are a significant part of a much bigger problem.
Anti-social media. Anti-social media. Torch-wielding mobs and sharks in a feeding frenzy. Anti-social media. Nasty anonymous comments are a significant part of a much bigger problem.
Amen. Fist bump.
Stop spazzing and be cool.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA.